Chapter 2734. With a clear swoosh, a ball of blood suddenly sprayed out from where the sword light landed. This blood light was the size of a basin, and it just happened to block the sword light. The green and red sword light slightly paused in midair, and then separated, falling towards the edge of the blood light. However, the blood light was as intelligent as the sword light. At the same time, it also split into two, and once again blocked the sword light from falling. Now, after several attempts, the spirit execution vital light was unable to pierce through the black gas. Kill! Xiaohua's face was stunned, and he urged the vital light again. With a swoosh, the brilliance of the two sword lights increased, and they directly pierced into the blood light. Hiss hiss hiss, like cold water falling into a pot of oil. The entire blood light exploded. However, just as the sword light broke through the blood light and landed again, two balls of blood spurted out from the black gas. The sword light landed squarely on the balls of blood. With a clang sound, the sword light immediately became much dimmer. Not good. Xiaohua was greatly alarmed, and he hurriedly urged the yin-yang sword gourd. Unexpectedly, the blood seemed to have an extremely strong suction force, and the two flying swords were actually unable to break free. Damn it! Xiaohua's gold core surged, and his magic power rushed out. The yin-yang sword gourd flashed with golden light, and with a swoosh, the mouth of the sword gourd also suddenly released a huge force. With two swoosh sounds, the green and red sword light finally broke free from the blood and flew back. Xiaohua's divine sense swept over, and it was precisely the flying sword that fell into the sword gourd. The originally sparkling and translucent flying sword now had some specks of blood on it, and it was obviously stained by the blood. He couldn't help but feel a bit of heartache, and he knew that it would take a lot of effort to get rid of the blood. Little bug, you really have a lot of tricks. That cold voice once again came out from the rolling black gas. However, just relying on this incomplete spirit execution vital light, you still aren't this lord's opponent. Emph! Xiaohua sneered. He slapped his hand and took out the ocean overturning seal. Under the urging of his magic power, the coiling dragon held the seal in its mouth and smashed it towards the black gas. Its might was clearly several times stronger than before it condensed its core. Ha 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 ha, how can these worthless transcendent treasures hurt me? Ji Peng laughed loudly. This time, there was no need for any blood-red light. A ball of black flames flew out, and like a blooming lotus, it stopped the ocean overturning seal. The ocean overturning seal tumbled a few times, but it was unable to land. Little bug, your magic weapon is getting worse. Ji Peng chuckled. The black gas vibrated violently and shrank rapidly. Countless blood vessels surged out of the black gas and wrapped around it. A demon body that was close to 15 meters in size appeared in front of Xiaohua's eyes, flashing with a blood-red brilliance. Hiss! It's really you. Looking at the demon body that was 3 meters taller than Qing Xian, then looking at the extremely ugly face of the demon body, Xiaohua's eyes revealed a thoughtful expression as he spoke coldly. That's right. The current Ji Peng was the one that Xiaohua had seen in the demon's den on Thousandjiang Peak, when he was still a rogue cultivator several decades ago. It was that huge statue, that tall, blood-red and ugly demon. Even Ji Peng's tall and protruding forehead, as well as his upturned nose and fangs in his mouth. What surprised Xiaohua the most was that there was actually a thin membrane between the man's two arms that was connected to his back. It's really you? You have actually seen this lord before? Ji Peng was different from Qing Xian. His eyes flashed with blood-red light, and a kind of astonishment could be discerned from within. There's a statue of you under Shi's Thousandjiang Peak. Xiaohua mocked. Do you need this young master to bring you to see it? Ha ha ha. So that's how it is. Ji Peng threw his head back and laughed loudly. His voice reverberated throughout the entire space, and the entire blood-red space shook with his laughter. Xiaohua sized up Ji Peng's entire body. It was completely blood-red, and there was no demon armor to be seen. Furthermore, Qing Xian's originally bulging muscles were now completely replaced by strange patterns. These patterns that seemed to belong to the demon world did not reveal any brilliance, and were extremely rough. As Ji Peng's forelimbs swayed, the patterns trembled slightly, as if they were emitting some kind of fluctuation. Ji Peng laughed loudly and stretched out his hand, as if reaching out to pluck the moon. The seal of tumbling sea that Xiaohua did not have time to withdraw in time was thrown into his hand. What kind of technique is this? Xiaohua was stunned. He sensed that his connection with the seal of tumbling sea had disappeared as soon as Ji Peng raised his hand. How can someone from the demon world know magic? Xiaohua hurriedly urged the magic, wanting to contact the seal of tumbling sea. Unfortunately, all his probing was like a clay ox entering the sea. There was no news at all. Ha ha ha. Little worm. Although this sovereign does not have the strength to reach its peak, in this sovereign's blood drop paradise, you can only be this sovereign's food. You still want to put up a meaningless struggle? Ji Peng laughed loudly, and the entire blood drop paradise shook with his laughter. It was as if the entire space was laughing. Seeing that the seal of tumbling sea had fallen into Ji Peng's hands, Xiaohua could do nothing but panic. He had already released his divine consciousness, wanting to find a crack in this paradise. Ji Peng seemed to be able to sense Xiaohua's divine consciousness. He laughed and said, "You can't even break through Qingxian's black flames. What kind of talisman are you relying on? You can forget about this sovereign's paradise. Looking at your physical body, you can actually control lightning. You must be extremely powerful. Compared to this Yin Meng or Du Peng, you must be stronger. Wait until this sovereign enjoys your physical body, then I'll go look for lightning. Who knows, this sovereign's lightning cultivation might even surpass that guy's." Possession. Xiaohua understood. Yin Meng's corporeal body had already been killed by him, and Qingxian had probably died along with Yin Meng. As for this Ji Peng, he had used some kind of mystical ability from the demon realm to survive. What he needed to do now was to find a suitable corporeal body to possess and survive. And Xiaohua was his best target. Thinking about possession, Xiaohua's heart calmed down. He naturally thought of his sealed Naiwan palace and the little white dragon in his soul. Although the little white dragon had gone through a lightning tribulation and was now weak, it could not be disturbed. However, now that it was a matter of life and death, it had no choice but to put in some effort. Others might be afraid of this demon general's possession, but did Xiaohua need to be afraid? Of course, Xiaohua's face still showed fear. He was clearly very afraid. Ji Peng waved his hand, and the blood-red hand grabbed the seal of tumbling sea. This magic treasure that even third-grade illusory sword cultivators feared was now in Ji Peng's hands, like a child's toy. The quality of this magic treasure is really not bad. If it is cultivated properly, it can really step into the ranks of spiritual weapons. Previously, this sovereign really made a mistake. Ji Peng said, indeed, 3 times in one breath. It was obvious that he admired the seal of tumbling sea. Then, Ji Peng glanced at Xiaohua, and the smile on his ugly face became even wider. He said, "What other good things do you have? Why don't you let this sovereign take a look? Perhaps this sovereign will be happy and leave you a remnant soul. I'll let you enter the cycle of reincarnation." "Humph," Xiaohua sneered, and the fear on his face lessened. He waved his hand and tried the lightning controlling technique. As expected, this blood drop paradise was even more sealed than Qingxian's black flames. None of the lightning flashed. "Don't be delusional." The fluctuation of the spell immediately attracted Ji Peng's attention. He sneered and said, although Lei Ting's lightning controlling technique is powerful, he was still injured by this sovereign in this sovereign's blood drop paradise. If even he can't do it, how can you, a disciple, succeed? As he spoke, Ji Peng looked at the other side of the blood drop paradise. The Buddha's Sarira was also dimming in the blood drop paradise. However, the Buddhist mantras were still coming out of the Buddha's mouth and landing on the black gas. Xiaohua was afraid that if the mantras were to stop, something would happen to Zhang Qingxiao. Evil creature. Ji Peng looked at Zhang Qingxiao with a cold gaze. He scolded and grabbed with his hand. Several rays of blood-red light landed on Zhang Qingxiao's body. In an instant he caught the black gas and brought it in front of him. As for Xiaohua's Buddha's Sarira, Ji Peng didn't even care about it. It was as if it was harmless to him. Xiaohua was helpless. He urged the Sarira to return to the top of his head, and put away the Buddha's seal. He opened his compassionate eyes and looked at Ji Peng. Although Buddhism is the nemesis of demonic cultivators, it seems to be effective against the demonic cultivators of the demonic world as well. It's a pity that my cultivation level is too low. In his eyes, I'm just a side dish. Xiaohua thought to himself. Now, I'm afraid I have to lure Ji Peng into my Naiwan palace and think of another way. Xiaohua knew that he was a golden core cultivator. His soul had already solidified. Ji Peng definitely wouldn't dare to rush into his soul to possess him. He was confident that he would first occupy Xiaohua's Naiwan palace and gradually nibble away at it. Only then would he have a chance to succeed. Just as Xiaohua was thinking, Ji Peng grabbed with his hand again. The black gas and wisps of blood wrapped around Zhang Qingxiao fell into his blood-red hand. Zhang Qingxiao's figure appeared in midair. At that moment, Zhang Qingxiao looked very lonely. Her previous arrogant aura was long gone. Her hands drooped slightly, and her face was extremely pale. As for her eyes, they were looking at the blood below her. She didn't dare to look at Ji Peng at all. Evil creature. Ji Peng didn't let Zhang Qingxiao off. He scolded. I thought that you were developing well in the cultivation 3 kingdoms. That's why I sent a wisp of my spirit to follow Qingxian to see you. I wanted to give you some benefits. However, I didn't expect that you would actually forget everything this sovereign told you, and even want to kill this sovereign. You're really bold. Zhang Qingxiao lowered her head and didn't answer. Don't think that I'll forgive you just because I'm satisfied with what you've done. Ji Peng continued to berate her. Since I can turn you from a demonic beast into a human, I can naturally turn you from a human into a demonic beast. Even a secular animal. As he spoke, Ji Peng grabbed with his hand. Streaks of blood flashed from his hand and shot towards Zhang Qingxiao's body. Roar! A strange roar came from Zhang Qingxiao's mouth. She raised her head. Her fearful eyes flashed with shock and anger. Then, she looked at Xiaohua. Her eyes flashed with determination. Chapter 27:35. Second senior brother Xiaohua saw something in Zhang Qingxiao's eyes and hurriedly called out. You want to die? Do you think you can die? Ji Peng sneered. He flicked his middle finger, and a streak of blood fell on Zhang Qingxiao's face. Zhang Qingxiao's body was slightly sluggish, and he could no longer move. Then, Ji Peng stretched out his hand, and his originally long arm reached between Zhang Qingxiao's eyebrows. Go! Xiaohua could no longer allow Ji Peng to wreak havoc. With a wave of his hand, he took out the Kunlun mirror. Under the urging of his transcendence energy, a ray of blue light flashed and shot towards Ji Peng. Crack! With a crisp sound, the blue light quickly hit Ji Peng's arm. That blood-red arm suddenly congealed, and cracks quickly appeared on it. Oh, this is the Kunlun mirror? Isn't it? Ji Peng exclaimed. He did not dare to be careless, and the blood on his arm quickly surged, wanting to protect the congealed part. But just as he moved, a crack sounded. That blood-red arm actually broke, and the congealed part in the middle fell into the air. Hiss! It really is the Kunlun mirror. Ji Peng sucked in a breath of cold air, but there was no fear in his tone. Instead, it was a kind of surprise. Xiaohua's divine telekinesis swept over, and the corner of his mouth revealed a bitter smile. The congealed blood fell into the blood drop cave and quickly melted, becoming one with the cave. Looking at Ji Peng's broken arm, with the surging blood, it quickly reconnected, and a whole arm touched between Zhang Qingxiao's eyebrows. Roar! Zhang Qingxiao's originally immobile body suddenly moved again. He raised his head and roared, lying on the ground. The black gas and blood light around his body continued to surge, and the human figure continued to expand. Many protrusions had already pierced through his clothes. Soon, a body that looked like a cow and a horse appeared in midair. This body was huge, probably more than 10 feet long. Hiss! This is the statue of that magical beast at the bottom of the Thousand-Zhang Peak. Xiaohua suddenly came to a realization. The one who possessed Zhang Qingxiao's body was not a devil, but a magical beast. Although Zhang Qingxiao had devoured the primordial spirit of the magical beast, he still had the memories of the magical beast. Furthermore, the primordial spirit of the magical beast was extremely powerful. Although Zhang Qingxiao had devoured the magical beast had already imperceptibly influenced Zhang Qingxiao over the years. Under these circumstances, it was no wonder that Zhang Qingxiao was extremely fearful of Ji Peng, afraid to see him. He didn't even dare to mention Ji Peng. This was because Qing Fengmin was Ji Peng's mount. Oh? No wonder. Just when Xiaohua realized what had happened, Ji Peng's face also showed a look of understanding. He laughed and said, "So you actually devoured Di Luo's primordial spirit. It wasn't Di Luo who possessed you. You even used a secret technique to erase the devil soul imprint. If that's the case, I can understand what happened to Di Luo." While speaking, Ji Peng pointed his finger at Di Luo's head, which was still blurry. As if a curtain had been lifted, Zhang Qingxiao's face was revealed on Di Luo's head. Although Zhang Qingxiao's face was full of fear, his eyes were filled with shame. "Ha ha ha, Zhang Qingxiao, oh Zhang Qingxiao, being this sovereign's mount is a great opportunity for you. Do you think a little human cultivator like you can enter this sovereign's eyes? If you didn't have Di Luo's primordial spirit, I would have treated you as an ant and wouldn't even look at you," Ji Peng said with a smile. However, in the eyes of the helpless Xiaohua, who was holding the Kunlun mirror in his hand, he didn't know whether to attack or not. His smile was very strange. "Even in the devil world, there are many mounts for me to choose from. Di Luo is the only one because I chose you. It's fate that Di Luo chose you." When Ji Peng talked about Di Luo's background, he was a little vague, as if he didn't want Zhang Qingxiao to know. "Well, since even the devil soul imprint has been erased, you can't go back to the devil realm. I can only think of a way for you here in the Xiaoyu continent." Ji Peng seemed to be very concerned about Di Luo. He pointed his finger at Di Luo and scolded, Di Luo, what are you waiting for?" Immediately, Di Luo's body started to shake violently. The blood-red light rushed from his feet to his head. Roar! Zhang Qingxiao's head roared, as if it was resisting the flood of Di Luo's memories. However, looking at Ji Peng's smiling eyes, Xiaohua knew that Zhang Qingxiao definitely couldn't resist this devil general's methods. When the blood-red light filled Di Luo's body, Zhang Qingxiao's eyes became dull. That would be the moment when Zhang Qingxiao's primordial spirit disappeared. Go to hell. Xiaohua knew that he couldn't wait any longer. Even if he wanted to lure Ji Peng into his trap, he couldn't do it now. He couldn't wait for Zhang Qingxiao to disappear from the world, and then drag out an ignoble existence. Xiaohua knew that the Kunlun mirror couldn't work, and the flying swords and other things in his space wouldn't be effective either. So he simply put away his magic weapons and sword gourd, and flew towards Ji Peng with the wishful staff in his hand. Ji Peng laughed out loud when he saw Xiaohua flying towards him. He raised his hand and the blood-red light rushed towards Xiaohua and said, "Haha, Di Luo gave me the Heavenly Devil Sect. Are you going to give me the Thunder Controlling Sect as well? With me possessing your body, it would be easy for you to become the head of the Thunder Controlling Sect. Your staff isn't a devil weapon." Ji Peng's blood-red light was like a blood spirit baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, rushing toward Xiaohua without fear. However, the blood-red light was destroyed by Xiaohua's wishful staff in an instant. It didn't show any power at all. Once again, Ji Peng had not expected this. "Oh, this thing seems to be like the soul-slaying primordial light. It's the embryonic form of an ancient monster." Ji Peng suddenly woke up and couldn't help but be eager to give it a try. "You really are giving me a body to possess. I didn't expect you to have so many good things. This old man can't wait to see how many secrets you have." However, when Ji Peng spoke to this point, he looked at the Buddha relic above Xiaohua's head. Extreme disgust appeared in his blood-red eyes as he said indifferently, "However, this venerated one really hates the Buddhist sect's relics. Before I possess him, it is best that I destroy this thing." As he spoke, Ji Peng opened his mouth and spat out a mass of blood-red light. The blood-red light was like a spell. It suddenly expanded in midair, like a layer of red gauze, and immediately covered the Buddha Sarira. The dim Buddha light couldn't penetrate the blood-red light. Inside the Buddha Sarira, Xiaohua's primordial spirit felt a sense of suffocation. Gu Gu. Ji Peng's mouth suddenly chanted an inexplicable rhythm, like a curse. The blood-red light covering the Buddha Sarira flourished, and many drops of blood rushed out from the nearby blood-dripping grotto heaven, and landed on the blood-red light. The entire blood-red light was like a blood stain, rapidly corroding the Buddha light. It looked like it was going to swallow the Buddha Sarira into the blood stain. Xiaohua panicked. Facing this strange Ji Peng from the devil realm, His strength, comparable to a nascent soul stage cultivator, was simply unable to be used. All of his methods were simply ineffective. It really felt like, when it's time to use it, it's time to regret not having enough knowledge. Fight! Xiaohua could only wave the wishful staff and do his best to get close to Ji Peng. Tsk. Ji Peng opened his mouth as if he had seen a delicious meal. He praised. The Buddha Sarira has been cultivated by you to this extent. In this Lord's eyes, it's like a fat sheep. Seeing that you're so attentive, this Lord won't completely swallow your primordial spirit. As he spoke, Ji Peng let out 2 startled cries. Then he said, your Buddha Sarira. How did you cultivate it? Why does it resemble a Buddha? If it were to be swallowed out of thin air, would it really be a waste? Later on, if I could attain the position of Buddha, wouldn't this Lord be half a step into the Devil Commander? Or even the Devil Lord? As for the second shock, Ji Peng did not cry out. Instead, he looked at his arm. Because Xiaohua had flown over, the previous blood-red light had been shattered by Xiaohua. Ji Peng stretched out his arm and blocked the wishful staff with his fist. Xiaohua's wishful staff was amazing. Seeing that Ji Peng's fist was instantly shattered by the wishful staff, the blood-red light on Ji Peng's arm immediately poured in and formed a perfect fist again. However, this fist simply existed for a moment under the wishful staff before it was destroyed again. Of course, the arm connected to the fist surged again, and the blood-red light formed a fist again. This fist was naturally shattered under Xiaohua's wishful staff. However, in a few moments, it had repeated several times. Ji Peng could not help but be shocked. His gaze fell from the Buddha Sarira and stared at the wishful staff for a long time. His eyes narrowed slightly as if he was recalling something. Suddenly, a blood-red light flashed in front of his eyes. He said with joy, This is the wishful staff of the 5 elements? Yes, this is it. This is not in the 5 elements. However, just as Ji Peng's joy was born, and before he could reach out his blood-red hand to take the wishful staff, he heard a sorrowful cry from Di Luo's body. It was the voice of Zhang Qingxiao. Roar. My will is against heaven. I do not want to leave the human world. My will is to return to heaven. I do not want to leave my heart. My will is to enter the devil. Blood stains the sky. As Zhang Qingxiao's voice came out, Di Luo's huge body flashed rapidly and suddenly shrank as if he was about to turn back into a human form. The blood-red light outside his body was also forced back a few feet. Ji Peng's attention was once again attracted by Zhang Qingxiao. He really did not expect that Di Luo, who had always been under his crotch, would suddenly change today. Although your will is against heaven, you do not have the power to go against heaven. You are still a little beast under my feet. Ji Peng laughed sinisterly. He opened his mouth again and spat out another mouthful of blood. At this moment, Xiaohua's figure suddenly moved. As fast as lightning and as light as the wind, he instantly appeared under Ji Peng's abdomen. Ha ha ha, a familiar voice came from Ji Peng's abdomen. Suddenly, a gap opened up in the blood-red abdomen. Qing Xian's head and arm poked out from the gap, holding the mace in his hand. Chapter 2736. Wu. The mace smashed toward Xiaohua as he shouted. This sovereign knew you were the most cunning. I've been waiting here for a long time. Seeing that the mace was about to trap him, although Xiaohua was shocked, he did not seem to be in a hurry. He extended his wishful staff and cleverly placed it on top of the mace. His entire body once again flew towards Ji Peng's chest-o. Qing Xian had clearly never seen such a marvelous staff technique, and was unconsciously stunned. Now's the time. Seeing that Ji Peng was close, Xiaohua gritted his teeth, opened his mouth, and spat out the spiritual fire that he had been brewing. As the spiritual fire rushed into the air, Xiaohua waved his hand and simultaneously used the divine fire art. The scarlet spiritual fire was instantly scattered by Xiaohua into a net. There was simply no time for Ji Peng or Qing Xian to react. The nearly 5 zhang tall demonic body was completely wrapped up. Xiaohua used up 50% of his magic power to use the spiritual fire to trap Ji Peng's enormous demonic body. Scarlet. True fire. Ji Peng's ugly face revealed extreme shock. Qing Xian, who was on his stomach, was also stunned. However, Xiaohua simply did not answer them. He accurately used the divine fire art one after another, causing the fire net to rapidly shrink. Squeak squeak, countless soft sounds came from within the fire net. Regardless of whether it was the black flames or the blood-red light, once they touched the scarlet spiritual fire, they all dissipated into thin air. At this time, Jipeng did not dare to speak anymore. He hastily shrank his demonic body. However, he could only shrink to about 3 zhang before he could no longer shrink any further. At this time, the 3 zhang tall black gas mixed with the blood-red light was completely covered by the fire net. Squeak squeak, countless light black smoke rose from where the fire, black gas, and blood-red light came in contact with each other. Jipeng also let out a rare blood-curdling scream. Woo! Like a hurricane, the black gas suddenly swelled and a ball of black flames rushed out from the black gas, instantly pushing the fire net several feet high. At the same time, dark brown blood spurted out from the black flames and landed on the fire net. The fire net of the spiritual fire immediately became much dimmer. Ha ha ha! Following a wild laugh, a blood-red shadow rushed out from the black flames and instantly rushed through the fire net. Although the blood-red shadow's blood-red light was suddenly ignited by the fire net, the blood-red shadow immediately spat out a mouthful of blood and extinguished the fire. However, the blood-red shadow was already extremely thin. Xiaohua immediately understood Jipeng's plan when he saw the blood shadow rushing towards Zhang Qingxiao, who was gradually taking on a human form. Go! The primordial spirit within the Buddha's Sarira waved his hand, and the clear water bottle appeared in his hand. Pour, following the Buddha's mudra, the innate primordial water rushed towards the bloodstains surrounding the Buddha's Sarira like a heavenly river. In an instant, a crack appeared in the bloodstains, and the innate primordial water rushed towards Zhang Qingxiao's surroundings, completely surrounding him. Xianming primordial water? The blood-red shadow was stunned in midair. It was Qing Xian's incredulous voice. How could such a treasure be in your hands? Oh no, this is not good. When Xiaohua heard Qing Xian's voice, he immediately knew that he had fallen into a trap. He hurriedly looked towards the fire net. However, at this moment, his vision turned black and an arrogant voice sounded in his mind. Haha, little bug. How can you be my opponent? Oh no, why? Why is your Naiwan palace sealed? Okay, how could Xiaohua answer him? Without waiting for Jipeng to do anything else, the primordial spirit in Xiaohua's soul immediately activated its soul strands. Thousands of soul strands suddenly rushed out of the Dharma Eye's soul mark and completely enveloped Jipeng's blood-red shadow like tentacles. Damn it! What the hell are you? Are you still a cultivator? How do you know soul spells? Jipeng was flustered and exasperated. It was only now that he realized that after scheming for so long, he had fallen into Xiaohua's trap. He might as well have used his methods to kill Xiaohua from the start. You want to use this half-baked soul spell to keep me here? Jipeng's blood-red shadow was still struggling with all its might. Xiaohua's soul strands were no match for this blood-red shadow. Similarly, Qing Xian's blood-red shadow also came to help like a stream of light. Goldie, Xiaohua sneered. His consciousness entered the space and shouted, "There's a delicious meal outside." As soon as Goldie's figure came out of the space, a kind of fear that came from the bottom of its heart emerged from Jipeng's mouth. Demon god above. Which demon god did I provoke? This seems to be Ting, right? When Goldie saw the two blood-red shadows, its eyes brightened. It swung its large tail and charged over. Wang, Jipeng and Qing Xian's blood-red shadows rapidly emitted blood-red light. The entire blood drop grotto heaven began to tremble violently. Countless huge blood-red palms emerged from the grotto heaven and grabbed at Goldie. Whoop! Goldie wailed, as if it was afraid. At this point, you still want to fight like a cornered beast? Watch how I destroy you. Xiaohua sneered. The Buddha's Sarira activated the innate primordial water and quickly formed a huge space around him, enveloping everything inside. You have the blood drop grotto heaven, but I have the primordial water space. Xiaohua sneered and said to Goldie, "Go eat them." Goldie once again swung its tail and flew towards the blood-red shadows. With a humph sound, a silver-white brilliance was already coming out of its nostrils. This time, Ji Peng and Qing Xian were really scared out of their wits. Although the blood-red light outside the primordial water rushed in without regard for their lives, and some places had already been infiltrated by blood threads, Goldie's brilliance had already enveloped the two blood-red shadows. A kind of innate fear and an irresistible force had already sealed all the divine abilities of the two demon generals. Wait a moment. At this moment, a cold voice rang out from the side. Xiaohua raised his head. It was Zhang Qingxiao, whose entire body was flashing with blood-red light. Although Zhang Qingxiao had not completely transformed into a human, her entire upper body had already been restored. Xiaohua frowned. He still couldn't figure out whether this was Zhang Qingxiao or Di Luo. He coldly asked, "What do you want?" "Nothing else. I want to devour this Ji Peng." Zhang Qingxiao also said coldly, "This is only one of Ji Peng's avatars. It only has 30% of Ji Peng's power. If you kill him today, Ji Peng will definitely know, and he will definitely rush to the three kingdoms of cultivation. At that time, you will definitely not be his opponent. If I devour this avatars, not only will I be able to get rid of Ji Peng's imprisonment, but I will also be able to evolve and become a true demon." Elector Ji Peng chose Di Luo as his mount, because he liked Di Luo's ability to evolve infinitely. Xiaohua looked at Zhang Qingxiao, wondering if he should believe her. However, the blood-red threads outside the primordial water were already baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. He really didn't have the time nor the means to judge. "Goldie, wait a moment," Xiaohua ordered. When Goldie stopped, Xiaohua coldly said, "If you are Zhang Qingxiao, I will naturally let you devour me. But if you are Di Luo, how can I let you have your way? Believe it or not, it's up to you," Zhang Qingxiao said disdainfully as usual. "Oh." Xiaohua waved his hand, indicating that he agreed. Zhang Qingxiao's forelegs moved slightly and landed beside Goldie. She also looked at Goldie with some fear. She opened her mouth and a blood-red light fell on Ji Peng's blood shadow. "Ha ha ha." Di Luo Ji Peng suddenly laughed out loud. Unfortunately, before his laughter could be heard, Xiaohua sneered. "If it was before, I wouldn't have trusted my second senior brother. But now, with your sowing dissension, I can trust him. A demon is a demon." Ah! Ji Peng didn't expect that he would be so clever and make a fool of himself. He was extremely frightened and shouted, "Di Luo, how dare you devour me? When I come back, I will definitely." Before Ji Peng could finish his threat, the blood-red light covered him. With a roar, Zhang Qingxiao swallowed him into her mouth. Then, the blood-red light around Zhang Qingxiao's body became brighter and brighter, completely covering Ji Peng. The blood-red threads that were forcibly seeping into the primordial water also stopped abruptly. "You can taste it now," Xiaohua indifferently ordered Goldie. Roar! Goldie was overjoyed. It sniffed and swallowed Qing Xian into its stomach. Goldie burped and stretched. "Thank you, mother. Goldie, you still need to cultivate more." Thinking of Goldie's fear just now, Xiaohua frowned and said, "In the future, mother's enemies will become more and more powerful. Only by cultivating can you protect mother." Goldie's eyes lit up when he heard the words "protect mother." He hurriedly said, "Boy understands. Boy will go back and cultivate properly." That's mother's good child." Xiaohua actually didn't know how Goldie cultivated, so she just praised it and sent it back to the space. After sending Goldie back, Xiaohua looked around. The primordial water formed countless whirlpools that blocked the surroundings, so she didn't know what was going on outside. After thinking for a while, Xiaohua activated the Buddha Saraira and opened a small gap in the primordial water. Her divine sense carefully passed through, and she saw that outside the primordial water was the original blood drop paradise. At this moment, the four walls of the blood-dripping paradise had already calmed down. The blood stains that had stretched out like ferocious ghosts were frozen in midair. Although they were no longer wreaking havoc, they did not shrink back either. There were so many blood stains that they filled the entire space. It was a very strange sight. The blood drop paradise was still sealed, and there was no sunlight or snow falling. Only that kind of blood-red brilliance illuminated the space. "It's finally over." Xiaohua looked at the quiet space and couldn't help but sigh in relief. She activated the Buddha Saraira and stored the primordial water. Then, Xiaohua waited for a while and stored the Buddha Saraira whose Buddha light had already dimmed into her body. Looking at the entire space again, the only thing that was still moving was the blood cocoon around Zhang Qingxiao's body. This blood cocoon was moving up and down rapidly as if it was breathing. The blood-red brilliance swayed from time to time, like a flickering candle. The brilliance lingered around and merged with the blood light on the walls. Chapter 2737. The black gas and black flames trapped by Xiaohua's spirit light had already been burned to a size of 1 zhang. However, the spirit light was still as inconspicuous as before. It didn't seem to have any heat, and didn't seem to exist at all. Xiaohua's finger moved slightly. He wanted to activate the divine flame, art once more to extinguish the last of the black qi and black flames. However, his eyebrows twitched. He looked at the blood cocoon that was still surging, and seemed to have thought of something. He pointed with his finger, and the spiritual fire stopped. It only tightly trapped the black qi and black flames, and no longer burned them. After checking again, Xiaohua's eyes flashed with a pensive expression. He frowned and sat cross-legged in a corner of the blood drop grotto heaven, waiting for Zhang Qingxiao to come out of the cocoon. This wait lasted for more than 3 days. Seeing that the blood cocoon around Zhang Qingxiao's body was indeed shrinking, Xiaohua knew that it should be going smoothly. Sure enough, in the end, a naked human figure appeared from the blood cocoon. The human figure was covered in a blood-red color, and there were some faint strange patterns flashing within the blood-red color. However, these patterns were like a flash in the pan as they floated out from the blood-red color. There was a burst of cryptic fluctuations, and then it disappeared. Even Xiaohua's Buddhist sense couldn't see it clearly. Roar, the blood-red human figure slowly stood up in the air. The face, which was also blood-red, was even more strange. It was flat and there were no protrusions or facial features. Xiaohua's face was calm. His body floated up as the human figure stood up. He put his hands behind his back and looked indifferently. In what seemed like an instant, the human figure's flat face suddenly exploded and Zhang Qingxiao's boundlessly handsome face suddenly appeared. Immediately, the blood-red color on the human figure's body disappeared like a receding tide. The person waved his hand and a gorgeous set of clothes appeared in his hand. He slowly put it on in front of Xiaohua. After putting on the clothes, the person slowly turned around. His face was still Zhang Qingxiao's face from 3 days ago. His gaze was still calm, and there was occasionally a flash of red light in his eyes. However, facing Xiaohua's gaze, there was a kind of gaze that Xiaohua had never seen in Zhang Qingxiao's eyes before, shame. A Zhang Qingxiao with shame. Was she still Zhang Qingxiao? Although this shame only lasted for a moment, Xiaohua could see that after the shame, Zhang Qingxiao's eyes were calm. No matter how Xiaohua looked at it, it wasn't calm. You are Zhang Qingxiao? Xiaohua looked at her for a moment, and asked in a deep voice. I'm not. Zhang Qingxiao shook her head slightly. Xiaohua's heart sank. I'm just a lowly magical beast in the devil realm. A body possessed by a magical beast. Zhang Qingxiao said coldly. In an instant, Xiaohua understood. The always arrogant Zhang Qingxiao, the always arrogant Zhang Qingxiao, the always arrogant Zhang Qingxiao, the always arrogant Zhang Qingxiao. The shame in her eyes just now was not because she was naked in front of him, but because she revealed the details of a magical beast's possession in front of him. In fact, it was also the shame of Zhang Qingxiao revealing her true form as a magical beast in front of him. With the arrogance of a person, who else could it be but Zhang Qingxiao? At least it wasn't that Di Luo. Xiaohua smiled, bowed and said, Congratulations, second senior brother. Zhang Qingxiao stared blankly and said indifferently, I'm just a lowly magical beast in the devil realm. There are billions of magical beasts like this. In this life, I'm afraid I can't escape this identity. You, a gold core cultivator, no longer need to call me brother. Haha, congratulations second senior brother for your great improvement in cultivation. Xiaohua was still smiling. Also congratulations second senior brother for revealing your naked body in front of Zhang Yutong, and revealing it in front of this little brother. Your grandmother. Zhang Qingxiao's snow-white face flushed red. She angrily scolded. You took advantage of me and now you're still pretending to be obedient. When you're naked, send me a message talisman, and I'll call my heavenly demon sex female disciples to come and watch. Haha, I'm afraid second senior brother won't be able to wait for this opportunity. Xiaohua looked up to the sky and laughed loudly. His figure slowly flew towards Zhang Qingxiao. Zhang Qingxiao was a bit hesitant, and even more puzzled. Xiaohua flew in front of Zhang Qingxiao and stretched out his hand. Second senior brother. I remember when I first arrived at Yellow Flower Ridge. I was often confused. At that time, I didn't have cultivation. It seems that there was one time when I fell into the cold pond. It was second senior brother who happened to pass by the cold pond and saved me. That day, I was clamped under your arm. Now it's been dozens of years and you and I still haven't hugged. Come, give me a hug. Let me feel the warmth of that day again. Why don't I remember such a thing? Zhang Qingxiao looked at Xiaohua's arms and was slightly surprised. Then she became alert again. Yes, between cultivators, except for husband and wife, even the intimate contact between martial brothers was very rare. No matter if they were familiar or unfamiliar, cultivators would try their best to maintain a certain safe distance between each other. They would never let others get close. Especially now, when Zhang Qingxiao's identity was uncertain, who would stretch out their arms to hug Xiaohua like this? However, looking at Xiaohua's eyes, Zhang Qingxiao's heart was slightly warm. The corner of her mouth hung a smile. She opened her arms and hugged Xiaohua without fear. Although, it was just a simple hug, just a simple crossing of arms, just a few light pats from Xiaohua on Zhang Qingxiao's back, just a few moments, the familial affection in this hug was more mellow and solid than any friendship between cultivators, any sworn brothers, any sworn brothers, any sworn brothers. All of this was more mellow and solid. Zhang Qingxiao gently smiled, pushed Xiaohua away and said, Your grandmother, don't tell me that after seeing my naked body, you want to repay me with your body? I already have Zhang Yutong in my heart. I won't be interested in a man like you. I advise you. You better give up early. Ha, you only have one Zhang Yutong. This young master has Fairy Hongxia and Xue Xue, 2 people, so I won't give my heart to you. Don't think too much. Xiaohua also pulled away and said with a smile. Sigh little junior brother. Hearing Xiaohua's laughter, Zhang Qingxiao sighed and said, Don't blame me for my coldness just now. I really don't want people to know that I am the lowest demon beast in the demon realm. Heroes don't ask where they come from, miracles are done by people. Xiaohua said with a smile. No matter if it is a demon beast, a demon or even a cultivator, or a demon beast, they all have the right to cultivate. Since the heavens let you take this step. Naturally there is a reason for the heavens. Why do you have to blame the heavens and accuse others? Although it is so, a beast is a beast, a human is a human. I still don't want people to know. Zhang Qingxiao said indifferently. And don't worry. Second senior brother. Little brother can make a heart oath. Xiaohua said with a smile. No need. Zhang Qingxiao hurriedly raised her hand. I still can't believe it. Then there is no one in this world that I can trust. Xiaohua. If I reveal second senior brother's secret, under the heavens, I will no longer be able to reach the Tao. Xiaohua didn't stop because of Zhang Qingxiao's dissuasion, and still made a heart oath. Zhang Qingxiao's eyes flashed with gratitude, but her mouth was still unforgiving. Damn it, this Xiaohua is the name that master gave you. Who knows what your original name is? This heart oath is a bit neither fish nor fowl. Second senior brother, then what do you think should be done? Xiaohua asked with a smile. Just be the first vice sect leader of my heavenly demon sect. Zhang Qingxiao said with a smile. I can only be at ease if you are always by my side. Don't. You'd better find someone else. Xiaohua waved his hand, then rolled his eyes and said, Oh right, actually this Di Luo doesn't seem to be simple. Didn't second senior brother say it just now? The reason why Ji Peng chose Di Luo is because he took a fancy to some characteristic of unlimited evolution? Yes, it is indeed so. Zhang Qingxiao explained without hiding anything from Xiaohua. Di Luo is the lowest demon beast in the demon world. Di Luo are everywhere, compared to ordinary animals like pigs and cows in the mortal world. Di Luo doesn't have any attack power, They can only be food for other demon beasts. No demon cultivator or demon general has ever used a Diluo as a mount. However, according to the secret of the demon world, Diluo has a rare special ability, that is, it can devour other demons. It has the ability to devour demons. Ah? How? How can this be? Xiaohua was dumbfounded. Just by eating. Can it be so powerful? Hehe, how can it be so simple? Zhang Qingxiao said with a smile. This is just to say that Diluo has this ability, just like how the disciples of a cultivation family may have the bloodline of the real world. How many people can awaken it? And Diluo is even rarer. I'm afraid that 1 in a billion or 10 billion people have this ability. That's already not bad. Then, Xiaohua wanted to ask, but stopped after saying one word. Zhang Qingxiao didn't dare to ask Xiaohua, she continued. Also, although Diluo can devour demons, it can only do so under its own power. If an ordinary Diluo devours a demon cultivator at once, then it will definitely explode and die. There won't be a second result. Therefore, even if there is such a Diluo, whether it can have the opportunity to devour the most suitable demons, and whether there will be suitable demons to devour along the way is absolutely an extremely difficult problem. Also, Diluo can't just simply devour demons, it also needs to cultivate, it also needs to practice martial arts. Then Zhang Qingxiao was about to tell more secrets of Diluo. But Xiaohua waved his hand, smiled and said, "Second brother, you don't need to tell me so many details, I'm just a little curious." Zhang Qingxiao looked at Xiaohua with deep meaning, stopped explaining, and finally said, "From Ji Peng's memory, I already know that one of the demon lords in the demon world is Diluo." Demon lord? What's his cultivation level? Xiaohua's eyes lit up and asked. Chapter 2738. Haha, remember. The demon realm's classification is different from the Dawn-Rain continents. Generally speaking, it's demons, demon soldiers, demon generals, demon marshals, demon kings, demon monarchs, demon emperors, and demon venerables. Zhang Qingxiao smiled. Of course, this is only the general classification. There are still some details, and each demon realm has its own differences. Demon realm? Xiaohua asked again. Zhang Qingxiao frowned. She knew that if she said too much, it would affect Xiaohua's cultivation. She hurriedly waved her hand and said, "You shouldn't know this with your current cultivation. Don't ask too much. You only need to remember that Ji Peng is only a demon general. You are already no match for him, let alone a demon venerables." Actually hearing this, Xiaohua explained that Ji Peng is only a demon general. From what I see, his cultivation is close to that of a nascent soul realm cultivator. He might not even be as powerful as a nascent soul realm cultivator. But I don't seem to be able to use my full strength. Moreover, in this blood drop paradise, I'm no match for him. Zhang Qingxiao nodded slightly. Looking at everything around her, she smiled and said, "It's not like you don't have the cultivation method of this blood drop paradise. I'm sure you know that in this blood drop paradise, all magic will be suppressed by the demonic blood. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth will also be blocked. Fortunately, you're a golden core cultivator, and have a golden core supporting your magic power. If you were a foundation establishment cultivator, I'm afraid you'd be killed by Ji Peng as soon as you started." But Xiaohua sat cross-legged for 3 days. He wasn't just waiting for Zhang Qingxiao, but also reflecting on his own battle. He clearly had the cultivation level and strength, but he was unable to gain the upper hand in front of Ji Peng. Ji Peng had forced him to use the last of his spiritual fire, and he had barely managed to win by relying on Goldie and the soul thread. If Xiaohua's Naiwan palace had not been sealed, the outcome would have been unknown. He really didn't understand. Zhang Qingxiao comforted him. Besides, this is your first time facing such a fierce person from the demon realm like Ji Peng. This guy is a demon general who experienced the Battle of Imperial Demon Valley. Your battle experience can't compare to his. In the future, when you fight more, you'll naturally be able to handle him. Seeing that Zhang Qingxiao didn't tremble when she talked about Ji Peng, Xiaohua was happy. He shook his head and said, "Actually, I've been reflecting on it for a long time." "Oh, tell me about it." Zhang Qingxiao raised her eyebrows and asked meaningfully. That's right. This was the first time the two of them had such an in-depth discussion. Their bottom lines were gradually being revealed. First of all, little brother's magical equipment is not good enough. Xiaohua stretched out a finger and said, although little brother has some magic treasures, I am unable to display their full power. I don't know if the quality of the magic treasures is not good enough, or if little brother's technique is not good enough. Of course, I also have some ferocious items that are similar to the spirit-slaying vital light. But they are all useless. They are far from being refined successfully. The spirit-punishing vital light could not even reach Ji Peng. As for the 5 elements wishful heaven staff, it can only be used as a weapon. It is far from being able to unleash the full potential of the staff technique. Pfft. Zhang Qingxiao laughed and pointed with her finger. If your wishful staff or spirit-slaying primary light can be completed within 1,000 years, you can laugh. Such a ferocious ancient object. Could it be that it had gone through countless tempering before it could become a weapon? Then, the day it became a weapon must have caused a celestial phenomenon. Your cultivation is not high enough, so this ferocious item cannot appear in the world. But little brother always feels that I do not have a suitable magic treasure. Xiaohua sighed. Then he stretched out his hand and said, the second thing is the technique. Second senior brother, don't you feel that? Little brother still does not have a technique? This. How would I know? Zhang Qingxiao scratched his head. Even if there aren't millions of Dharma spells on this Dawn Rain continent, there are at least several hundreds of thousands. Although it's impossible for you to see all of them, and it's also impossible for you to cultivate all of them, but you can always find a suitable Dharma spell for yourself, right? Perhaps. Xiaohua nodded. Actually, second senior brother has already given little brother many jade slips. Little brother has also read them all, ah? You have read them all? Zhang Qingxiao stared blankly. So many jade slips you can read them all? However, Xiaohua did not answer Zhang Qingxiao's question. Instead, he said in distress, those techniques either require a high realm or are weak. Little brother does not feel good when using them. Zhang Qingxiao smacked her lips and seemed to have thought of something. She asked, that's right, the dry separation pill that you wanted last time. You took it yourself, right? How many did you get? Xiaohua looked at Zhang Qingxiao curiously. He knew that she did not know how many medicinal pills Bai Fengliang gave him. However, thinking about it, Zhang Qingxiao could be considered to be very busy every day. Knowing about this kind of medicinal pill was enough. Who would really report how many pills they had? And I took it myself. Xiaohua thought for a moment and nodded. About 100 pills. Damn it, no wonder. Zhang Qingxiao said while gnashing her teeth. Others condense 1 or 2 pills is enough. You need 100 dry separation pills to condense your own pill. How much true essence do you have? How can those techniques used by ordinary people satisfy you? It's not a problem of true essence. Xiaohua shook his head. Actually, most of it is because of little brother's physique. Of course, Xiaohua did not say what was special about his physique. Zhang Qingxiao also did not ask. In short, your magic power far exceeds those of the same realm. And your realm is far from being comparable to your magic power. All these common techniques are not suitable for you. Zhang Qingxiao concluded. Then he was a little puzzled. Actually, your situation seems to be similar to the legendary demon. Their realms are generally not comparable to ordinary cultivators. Advancing is also extremely difficult. But their magic power is several times or even dozens of times that of cultivators of the same realm. However, most of them are born with magical powers and do not need any techniques or techniques. Xiaohua heard this and rolled his eyes at Zhang Qingxiao. Just as he was about to refute, he felt that he might hurt Zhang Qingxiao and immediately shut his mouth. Humph, remember. It's a demon, not a demon beast. Although Xiaohua did not say it, Zhang Qingxiao also felt it. She said coldly, in ancient times, demons were the kings that ruled the continent. But later on, demons declined and humans rose, calling them demon beasts. And demon beasts are not comparable to magical beasts. Demon beasts are a race, and there are different demon beasts within. There is no difference between humans and beasts. You Even if you want to be a demon beast, they don't want you. Oh, in ancient times? Xiao Hua's eyes lit up again. Zhang Qingxiao hurriedly waved her hand and said, "This is also Ji Peng's fragmented memories. I am not very clear. Don't ask too much." "Then what should I do about this situation?" Xiao Hua said with a bitter face. "Hehe, naturally it would be best if we can find the demon race's techniques," Zhang Qingxiao said as if she did not say anything. But Xiao Hua raised his eyebrows and said, "I have an idea. I don't know if it will work or not." "Say it, I will help you," Zhang Qingxiao answered without hesitation. "If I create my own technique, what do you think?" When Zhang Qingxiao heard this, she was so shocked that she almost fell from the sky. You created your own incantation? You haven't been possessed by Ji Peng, right?" "Can't I?" Xiao Hua asked calmly. "If you can cultivate to the nascent soul stage or enter the spirit-severing stage, naturally you can." Zhang Qingxiao smiled bitterly. "Only when you have a nascent soul will you be able to communicate with the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, and perceive a trace of the heavenly Tao. Or, with enough experience, you will be able to find the most suitable techniques for yourself from the existing techniques. Only then will you be able to find your own shortcomings and create new ones. As for now, although you have the strength of the nascent soul stage, your realm and comprehension are far from enough. You can't create your own technique. It's better to give up on this idea." And Xiao Hua did not deny it. He looked at the nearby grotto heavens and said, "Third, I feel that even though I have the wishful staff and can fight with Ji Peng in close combat, and have sufficient spiritual power, there is still a gap between me and Ji Peng. This gap lies within the blood drop grotto heaven." "Yes, continue." Zhang Qingxiao smiled and encouraged him. "This blood drop grotto heaven is like a world of its own. Ji Peng has the ability to control the world in this world. No matter what I do, I am under his control. Therefore, no matter what my cultivation is, I will be at a disadvantage first." Zhang Qingxiao's eyes flashed with surprise. She clapped her hands and said, "Junior brother, I have to say, you are really a genius. This kind of rule, if I didn't have the inheritance." Speaking of this, Zhang Qingxiao showed a trace of embarrassment. Obviously, this inheritance was a secret of Di Luo and Zhang Qingxiao did not mention it before. However, Xiao Hua acted as if he did not hear it and asked curiously, "What is the rule?" Alas, Zhang Qingxiao sighed and said, "Actually, it is too early for you to know about the rule. It's better that you don't know." "Strange. If you can know, why can't I know?" Xiao Hua smiled. "You think I want to know?" Zhang Qingxiao pointed at her own head and said, "None of the things in here belong to me. They were forced to me by Di Luo and that Ji Peng." "Alas, forget it." Zhang Qingxiao sighed and said, "Speaking of the rule, it is a bit troublesome. How do I even begin?" In short, the rule is similar to the confinement spell. You also know that once the confinement spell is cast, the enemy will be confined. Within the range of the confinement spell, there is a so-called rule. This rule is made by using magic and yellow talismans. It is the simplest rule. But in this blood-dripping grotto heaven, there is the rule revealed by Ji Peng's devil art. The flashing waves and the blood-red light are all a kind of rule. You can understand it this way. If you say more, I won't say more. Damn it, Ji Peng is just a devil general. How can he know the rule? Xiao Hua felt that it was a bit unbelievable. Chapter 2739. Zhang Qingxiao bitterly smiled and shook her head. He doesn't know either. If it's like what you said, it should be because of the blood drop grotto heaven technique. This blood drop grotto heaven is so powerful. Xiao Hua was dumbfounded. Nonsense, this is Scarlet Maple Devil Lord's technique. How can it be bad? Zhang Qingxiao sneered. Ji Peng only cultivated a little bit. If he had a little bit of success, you and I would definitely die today. Xiao Hua squinted his eyes and looked at Zhang Qingxiao without saying anything. Zhang Qingxiao was scared by his stare and said coldly, "Why are you looking at me? Could it be, you want the cultivation method of this blood drop grotto heaven?" "That's right. Previously you gave me the cultivation technique. But I can't cultivate it." Xiao Hua nodded and said, And that Ji Peng is also in the Dawn Rain continent. How can he cultivate it? Now that you've swallowed a part of Ji Peng's body, you must know this secret. You can't tell me? Zhang Qingxiao didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked at the black flame and black gas imprisoned by the spirit fire, thought for a moment and said hesitantly, "This secret technique, it's not that I can't tell you. Because you can cultivate my Devil Realm's concealment technique, it's very likely that you can cultivate this blood drop grotto heaven. But, as long as you cultivate this devil technique, the consequences, I don't know. It's really possible that you'll become a devil like me. You're not even willing to be the vice sect master of Heavenly Devil Sect. Are you willing to become a devil?" Xiaohua hesitated, muttered for a moment, and said, "Let me see the secret technique first. Wait for me to think clearly. Then I'll decide whether to cultivate it or not." "You have to think clearly. Although my life is important and you have to face Ji Peng together with me, there are thousands of paths. You don't have to cultivate this blood drop grotto heaven to kill Ji Peng." Zhang Qingxiao naturally knew what Xiaohua was thinking and said sincerely, "I know what's important. Give me the secret technique." Xiaohua stretched out his hand and said, "AI okay." Zhang Qingxiao clapped her hands and took out a few demonic slips from her storage pouch. She handed them to Xiaohua and said, "These contain all of Ji Peng's demonic arts and memories. I knew you would want them when I fused with them earlier." "Hehe, many thanks, second senior brother." Xiaohua unceremoniously reached out and took it. He didn't even look at it before putting it into his space. Looking at Xiaohua's appearance, the corner of Zhang Qingxiao's mouth slightly revealed a smile. She hesitated slightly before asking, "You, that Vajra Dharma body? Or the Phoenix Dharma body? Why didn't you use it? Which of these Dharmakayas is most effective against the devil body of the devil world?" "Phoenix Dharma body?" Xiaohua raised his eyebrows. "Second senior brother, you know a lot." More than you think," Zhang Qingxiao sneered. "If you temper your Vajra celestial body more, you may not be at a disadvantage even in this blood drop paradise." "Sigh, it's a long story." Xiaohua sighed. "I lost that avatar." Lost it?" Zhang Qingxiao was extremely shocked. Even with her experience, she had never heard of such an unimaginable thing. But after listening to Xiaohua's general explanation, she couldn't help but be flabbergasted. She repeatedly said, This is too much of a coincidence. I can't help it." Xiaohua shrugged. At that time, the situation was extremely urgent. If that crack had continued for half a moment, you wouldn't have been able to see me again. "Actually, I don't understand." Zhang Qingxiao blinked her eyes and said, "How did your Vajra celestial body turn into the Phoenix Dharma body?" "Oh, of course, if you don't want to say, I also don't want to know. However, if it's really related to the bloodline of the true bloodline, this avatar shouldn't be lost." "Ah, really?" Xiaohua knew that he wasn't as knowledgeable as Zhang Qingxiao, so he couldn't help but be happy. Then where should I go to look for it?" "Naturally, you have to look for it wherever you lost it," Zhang Qingxiao said with a smile. "The void?" Xiaohua suddenly thought of the spatial crack between the Sword Mound and Mingxi, and said anxiously, "I don't remember the location of the Gale snowfield very clearly. What if I enter the void from another place?" "Hehe, you really don't know anything," Zhang Qingxiao said with a smile. "Although the void is outside the Dawn Rain continent, but there's no direction in the void. Even if you left a divine sense mark on the Gale snowfield, it would be like carving a boat to find a sword. It's absolutely impossible to find your avatar there. Actually, to put it more clearly, the void is a Kuai-He Sea, and my Dawn Rain continent is a small island on the Kuai-He Sea. Your avatar is a grain of sand thrown into the sea." Zhang Qingxiao shook her head and said, "If you want to find your avatar, it's tantamount to finding a needle in a haystack. Didn't you say you want to look for it in the void?" Xiaohua was unhappy. "Yes, you can only look for it there, but I didn't say anything wrong. As for whether you can find it or not, that's another matter," Zhang Qingxiao argued. "That's equivalent to not saying anything." The glimmer of hope that had just risen in Xiaohua's heart was immediately extinguished. "It depends on your divine sense and your fate." Zhang Qingxiao shook her head and said, When you can reach the dividing spirit stage, maybe you can set foot in the void? Maybe you can meet your avatar there? Moreover, your avatar was born from your bloodline, so it should be able to sense you. Maybe it can take the initiative to find you. Oh right you. Speaking of this, Zhang Qingxiao suddenly thought of something and said with narrowed eyes. You can use the dividing spirit stage to control several magic treasures and Buddha's relics. Do you have a demonic sense splitting technique similar to the demonic sense splitting technique in the devil realm? Did you send a wisp of your primordial spirit into that Phoenix avatar? When Yin Meng saw that he had the primordial spirit splitting technique, Zhang Qingxiao had been trapped by Ji Ping's magic bamboo slip and didn't know the situation outside. However, he had absorbed Ji Ping's memory, so he naturally knew what Yin Meng knew. Therefore, Xiaohua didn't hide it and answered honestly. If you have some luck. Zhang Qingxiao sneered. If the Phoenix avatar is in your body, it will always be your avatar. Now that the Phoenix avatar is alone in the void, if you have the opportunity, with your primordial spirit as the master, this avatar may really become your external avatar. External avatar? What is that? Xiaohua was overjoyed when he heard the name and asked hurriedly. What else can it be? It's another Xiaohua, Zhang Qingxiao said angrily, but her eyes were obviously envious. Second senior brother, can you tell me the details? Xiaohua grinned. I won't tell you. Zhang Qingxiao waved her hand. When you find it, you will know. Damn it, why don't I have such good luck? TSK, Xiaohua rubbed his hands and said shyly. I'm sorry, little brother's luck is just a little bit better. Xiaohua even stretched out his little finger and used the nail of his thumb to make a gesture. Looking at Xiaohua's appearance, Zhang Qingxiao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. However, he was completely unguarded against this mysterious little junior brother now. He only wanted to maintain the few relatives he had on the Dawn Rain continent. Don't be so complacent, Zhang Qingxiao said with a smile. You don't have the Phoenix avatar against the Demon General's demon avatar. You are already at a disadvantage. Xiaohua shrugged and said helplessly. Then I can't do anything. Do you remember that heavenly law embodiment technique? Zhang Qingxiao thought for a moment and asked. I remember, Xiaohua nodded. That technique. And that technique is actually the cultivation technique of the demon avatar, Zhang Qingxiao said hesitantly. However, it is not complete. And if there is a technique like Blood Drop Paradise, it should be enough. Xiaohua nodded. It should be. Zhang Qingxiao declined to comment. If heavenly law embodiment technique is cultivated alone, it will naturally be effective. After all, this technique has already been improved. It's just that you already have the Phoenix avatar. No matter what. I'm afraid you can't cultivate another avatar, right? Everything is possible. Xiaohua was well aware of the origin of his great strength Vajra avatar. It had nothing to do with bloodline at all. If he cultivated heavenly law embodiment technique, there might really be some surprises. Sai, do as you wish. Zhang Qingxiao said somewhat helplessly. She was already somewhat tired of Xiaohua giving her surprises again and again. After thinking for a moment, Zhang Qingxiao clapped her hands and took out many jade slips and handed them to Xiaohua, saying, These are all the techniques that I can find. You do as you see fit. Remember, I am not supporting you to create some technique. I have so many jade slips that I have no place to put them. I will leave one for you. Haha, little brother, thanks. Xiaohua beamed with joy and reached out to receive them, sending them all into the space. Give me the universal shifting medallion. Zhang Qingxiao stretched out her hand. Xiaohua asked curiously, What are you doing? Destroying it. Zhang Qingxiao said coldly, This universe-shifting token contains the jade slips and materials to set up the teleportation array. However, because it was damaged during the teleportation, that bastard Yin Meng couldn't take it out. That's why the Changbai sect had to repair it. This item is the root of a disaster. It must be destroyed. You have a way? Xiaohua was stunned. I tried just now. Zhang Qingxiao knew that Xiaohua was unwilling and said coldly, Don't be a miser. You picked up sesame seeds and threw away the watermelon. Without this item, the chances of Ji Peng coming here will be much smaller. With this item, With this item, that bastard can't come. Xiaohua waved his hand and said, "Don't worry about this item with me. Others definitely can't take it away. Of course, unless you have the confidence to destroy it." Unfortunately, Zhang Qingxiao closed her eyes for a long time, and a helpless expression appeared on her face. She shook her head and said, "Forget it, you take it first. Since I can't destroy it, it's safer to leave it with you." Then, Zhang Qingxiao looked around and pointed at the black gas in the spiritual fire, saying, "This black flame and other things. I think you left it for me." Chapter 2740. That's right. Xiaohua nodded. "This item must be beneficial to you. I didn't completely destroy it. I'll give it to you." Zhang Qingxiao clapped her hands and took out a ring the size of a fist. Blood light flashed around her body, and the ring emitted a strange fluctuation. The black flame within the spiritual fire started to tremble rapidly. "Release the black flame," Zhang Qingxiao said. Xiaohua obeyed and kept the spiritual fire. The black gas and black flame were sucked into the ring. As the black flame disappeared, the mace was revealed and fell into Zhang Qingxiao's hands. Then, Zhang Qingxiao opened her mouth again. An array of blood light landed on the blood walls around her. The entire blood walls began to squirm, and then they were absorbed by the ring. At this moment, the sky was filled with stars and the entire Tianzhu Peak was covered in snow. It was a beautiful white land. The magic bamboo slip has the usage of the blood ring. Zhang Qingxiao handed the ring to Xiaohua and extended her hand to pass the mace to Xiaohua. Xiaohua kept them all in his spatial ring. "Remember, don't cultivate rashly." Zhang Qingxiao looked at Xiaohua's indifferent expression and couldn't help but remind him again. "I understand, second senior brother." Xiaohua nodded. He looked at the clear sky and said, "I've already seen your heavenly demon sex message talisman. Then, the person I'm looking for has already gone to Sky Patrol City. We don't have to go to Ming Kingdom now. We can just go to Sky Patrol City directly." Zhang Qingxiao nodded. She looked at Xiaohua's arms and asked worriedly, "Lu is fine in your spiritual storage bag. You put him with that spiritual beast. Will he be fine?" "No harm." Xiaohua smiled. "That spiritual beast is very obedient. Nothing will happen to him. Also, I've already seen that there are no changes to Lu." "All right." Zhang Qingxiao's face showed disappointment and said, "Half of what happened to Lu is my fault. I originally said that I would help you find a way to save Lu. But now that the Heavenly Demon Sect's first deputy sect leader, Yin Meng, is dead, he still has many direct disciples. Who knows, Jiping might have set them up. I have no choice but to go back and purge them." Furthermore, Laozi had already devoured Jiping's doppelganger. He still needed to properly digest it and completely refine it. He could not allow it to turn around and control Laozi. "Therefore, I'm afraid I can't go to Sky Patrol City with you." "And I know." Xiaohua nodded. "Even if you go, it's useless. I might as well go myself." "All right, I'll leave Luer's matter to you." Zhang Qingxiao clapped her hands and took out a token. She handed it to Xiaohua and said, "This is my Heavenly Demon Sect's first Vice Sect Master's keepsake. I'll give it to you. From today onwards, my Heavenly Demon Sect no longer has a first Vice Sect leader. Whatever you want to do, you can use this token to do whatever you want. It's the authority of the first Vice Sect Master." Alright. Xiaohua, who had tasted the sweetness, took the token with a smile and said, "If I don't take it, I'm afraid you won't feel at ease." "Who knows?" Zhang Qingxiao shrugged. "Anyway, you've already accepted it. There's no point in talking about this anymore. We've boarded a pirate ship." Xiaohua sighed. "It can't be considered boarding a ship." Zhang Qingxiao shook her head. "You're still you. Heavenly Demon Sect is still Heavenly Demon Sect. Only when you need Heavenly Demon Sect will this keepsake be useful. Otherwise, this keepsake will always be useless. You are not my Heavenly Demon Sect's first Vice Sect Master." And Xiaohua nodded slightly and didn't say much. Then he looked to the north and said, "The north of Huan country is now occupied by sword cultivators. I want to take a look before going to Sky Patrol City. Second senior brother, you and I will take our leave now." Are you going to Huan Country's Heavenly Demon Sect? And of course I'm going. Zhang Qingxiao cupped her hands and said, let's part here. All right. Xiaohua said and flew away. You're really leaving? Zhang Qingxiao's face revealed a strange expression. She pointed at Tianju Peak and said, that child has already climbed so high in this world of ice and snow. He really doesn't care about his life. It seems like there's something going on. Aren't you going to care? This young man is too shrewd. Xiaohua said calmly. When I saved the first child, I already asked him. It was this young man's idea to come to Tianju Peak. He has a blood feud and wanted to attract the attention of others. So he brought these children to Tianju Peak. The bet and so on were all planned by him. Naturally, he wanted to kill two birds with one stone. He wanted to use the children's lives to attract the pity of us cultivators, so that he could have a chance to encounter an opportunity for cultivation. I don't like such a scheming person. How can I reach out and care about his matters? Ha ha ha, so you're not a good person. Zhang Qingxiao laughed loudly. Her face was full of interest. Looking at the foot of the mountain, she said, this child has such a scheme, such shrewdness, and even such perseverance. He's a good talent that my heavenly demon sect needs. Hee, I can't do without taking him into the sect. Whether you take him in or not is your business. Just don't use my name. Xiaohua said coldly. Hee, when you need my heavenly demon sect to broadcast good seeds to you. You don't say that I'm using your name? Zhang Qingxiao laughed. It seemed that she really had the intention to use Taoist Master Zhao's name. Do as you wish. Thinking of Zhong Haoran's plan, Xiaohua's heart stirred. Waving his hand, he said, I'm leaving. After I finish Luer's matter, I'll bring him to see you. Okay. Zhang Qingxiao nodded, but his brows furrowed. With a flash, he flew down Tianju Peak. It seemed that the young man was in danger. Xiaohua's face was as calm as water. He flew into the sky and headed north of Huan Country. The north of Huan Country was naturally extremely cold, very similar to the north of Shi Country. In addition, the rich land of fish and rice near Tianju Peak was also nowhere to be seen. All that was seen and heard was bitter cold. Along the way, Xiaohua naturally scattered spirit seeds on the ground. As for who could pick them up, or whether these good seeds could sprout, Xiaohua didn't care. After all, spirit seeds were the same as a human's cultivation. They all needed luck. Some spirit seeds fell into the mud and immediately decayed. Some spirit seeds fell into rocks and immediately dried up. Some spirit seeds fell into trees and immediately became bird food. Only those seeds that fell into fertile fields could germinate into rice. Alas, although I have some vague directions. But if I start, it's extremely difficult. Xiaohua flew in the air while his thoughts ran wild. He roughly looked through the jade slips given by Zhang Qingxiao, and even those magic slips. There were all kinds of strange cultivation methods in them. Xiaohua could easily learn some of them, but he couldn't understand some of them even after looking at them for half a day. If he were to absorb the essence of these cultivation methods, comprehend the experience, and create his own cultivation method, it wouldn't be something that could be done in a day or two. Thinking back to the day when I created my own foundation establishment cultivation method, it was so easy. Why is it so difficult to face these? Xiaohua smiled bitterly. Actually, he knew in his heart that it was a matter of life and death that day. The choice of life or death forced him to create his own cultivation method. If it was now, it would be really difficult for him to create another cultivation method. That theory of rules is really fresh. Xiaohua thought again. But thinking about it, isn't there the fluctuation of rules in space? It's normal to pay attention to this in terms of cultivation methods. I'm thinking of creating my own cultivation method now, but I'm still looking for something far away. That sword plays the world, and that heaven-shocking stick. Don't they all contain a kind of rule? Maybe if I first understand these two secret techniques, I'll be able to protect myself against an opponent as strong as Jipeng. Xiaohua had a plan in his heart. He clapped his hands, took out another jade slip, and sighed. Damn it, the Heavenly Demon Sect is really powerful. They even got the list of nascent soul and gold core cultivators from the 3 countries who went to the Sky Patrol City. I don't know when my fortune gate will be able to do that. Jing Ran went to the Sky Patrol City, the 3 elders of the Ardent Fire Mountain went to the Sky Patrol City, and even Zhu Qinghe and Qian Diheng went to the Sky Patrol City. Damn it, the Sky Patrol City is very lively now. Xiao Hua shrunk his neck and laughed. I won't go to such a lively place. Whether the old devils of the snow region know the truth or not, I won't take the risk. That's right, Qian Diheng went to the Sky Patrol City. Is he going to ask me for a rejuvenation pill? Xiao Hua suddenly remembered. I haven't refined it in the past few years. Just as Xiao Hua's imagination was running wild, a powerful bird cry suddenly came from above Xiao Hua's head. That sound was like the cry of a bird, but also like thunder. It rushed into Xiao Hua's ears and shook his thoughts into chaos. Even his entire body rapidly fell several meters. Who is it? Xiao Hua activated the secret technique of God guidance and swept his divine sense over this extreme discomfort. He was stunned. He saw that in the sky, there was a giant pung bird that was several hundred feet in size. It spread its wings and covered the sky nearby. On the back of the giant pung bird stood a giant and a dwarf. These 2 people were quite strange. Xiao Hua couldn't help but look at them a few more times. He saw that the giant was taller than the ones Xiao Hua had seen before. It was about 3 zhang tall. Its arms were thick and large, and its body was well built. What was even more special was that it had a big red nose on its forehead. It was very eye-catching. As for the dwarf, it was the first time Xiao Hua saw it. It was shorter than an ordinary person by more than half, barely reaching the giant's knee. Although the dwarf was very small, it seemed that the dwarf was much more shrewd than the giant, because the dwarf's 2 small eyes flashed with an extremely cunning light. Looking at the giant pung bird that was bigger than his phoenix celestial body, Xiao Hua's heart trembled. When the giant pung bird's eyes swept over him like sword light, Xiao Hua almost felt that his whole body was about to be pierced by this gaze. This giant pung bird. Is it a demonic beast? Is it the spirit beast of this giant or dwarf? Xiao Hua clapped his hands and took out the wishful staff. His body slowly descended. Chapter 2741. It was as if the rock only wanted Xiao Hua to land, and did not force him. Instead, it flapped its wings, causing a gust of wind to blow as it followed Xiao Hua down from the sky. Xiao Hua found an ice mountain, and landed on top of it. His eyes narrowed as he looked at the rock that was slowly descending from 100 zhang away. The rock was indeed huge. When it was still 100 zhang away from the ice mountain, the snow and ice on top of the mountain was blown away by the gust of wind from its wings. When the rock landed on top of the mountain, cracking sounds could be heard as many cracks appeared on the ice. With a pung sound, the giant jumped down from the rock's back, creating a deep hole in the snow under his feet. The giant even jumped a few more steps and rushed to Xiao Hua's side. With a flip of his hand, he actually pulled out a huge mace from his back. Looking at the dwarf, his figure was very vigorous as he somersaulted in the air and landed on top of the snow. Then he jogged a few times and clapped his hands. From his storage bag he took out 2 small yellow sticks. The front of the sticks was slightly bulging, as if they were used to grind medicine. Jie, the great rock let out a long cry, the sound reverberating in all directions. The ice that had already cracked earlier cracked even more. As the great rock let out a long cry, its wings, which were hundreds of feet long, shrank rapidly. Its entire body shrank as well, and even its head gradually transformed. A human face with long and narrow cheeks, thin and long eyes, and a slightly protruding mouth appeared. In the blink of an eye, the huge rock's body and wings disappeared. A slightly tall old man with a pale golden face appeared in front of Xiao Hua. Bird cultivator? Xiao Hua suddenly realized. The moment the old man's figure appeared, an aura that was like a sharp sword came out of his body. Of course, this aura was just a flash, but Xiao Hua still saw it clearly. Peak of the 3rd grade illusory sword, just half a step away from the sword transformation realm. I am Kun Moguchi Peng. The old man revealed his figure and stood there like a mountain. His sharp eyes swept over Xiao Hua several times as he coldly said, "You? Which Dao sect's disciple are you from? You actually dare to openly peep at my sword domain's territory?" "I am Imperial Thunder Sect's Xiao Hua. Xiaohua wasn't cowardly at all. He replied indifferently, "This is my Lian Kingdom's territory. When did it become your sword cultivator's territory?" Kid. This place has long since been conquered by the warriors of my sword region. It's already the location of my sword region, the dwarf said with a sinister smile. Aren't you a disciple of the Dao sect participating in the battle? Who are you? Xiaohua looked at the dwarf and said, "This Xiao doesn't talk to nameless people." The dwarf was slightly angry, but when he looked at Xiaohua, he was actually somewhat afraid and didn't dare to step forward. Instead, he clenched his teeth and said, "I am Gao Dezhuang, the cave master of Cloud Mist Cave. He is one of the most famous people in this war. Haven't you heard of him?" Gao Dezhuang? Xiaohua almost wanted to grin, but he forcefully held back his laughter. He blinked his eyes and said, This Xiao has only heard of the names of Qin Jian, Lu Ruochang, and the others. I have never heard of Gao Dezhuang. I've never even heard of Qi Peng's name." "It doesn't matter if you haven't heard of my name." Qi Peng wasn't angry at all. He wasn't like Gao Dezhuang, who was about to stomp his feet. He said coldly, "You only need to have heard of Ling Yunwu, Yuan, Yuan Qing, Yu Ming, and Qin Jian." Oh. Hearing these names, Xiaohua understood in his heart. Although he didn't know the names of Yuan Qing and Yuan, Ling Yunwu, Yu Ming, and Qin Jian were all his former opponents. How could he not know that Qi Peng had already seen through him? "I am Lian Xiaoqiao of the Mountain Crossing Ridge. Xiaohua, you have consecutively defeated my Mountain Crossing Ridge's warriors. Today, I must fight you." The giant couldn't compare to the shrewdness of the dwarf and couldn't help but shout, "Lian!" Lian Xiaoqiao. Hearing the giant's name, Xiaohua couldn't help but laugh. This name was too interesting. Compared to these two names, his own name, Xiaohua, was really insignificant. Terrifying Phoenix. Do you want me to personally call you that? Qi Peng looked at Xiaohua, who was about to laugh, and coldly called out. He patted his hand and took out a sword scroll. He looked at it with his divine sense, and then looked at Xiaohua's face. He coldly snorted. "Although I have never seen you before, your reputation is really resounding in my sword domain. This sword domain's #1 bounty. It's been a bounty for a long time." "Oh, there's actually a bounty for me? And it's #1? Xiaohua was startled. He really didn't think that there would be a bounty for him, and it was actually #1. You naturally won't be #1. However, with Li Zongbao and Xiao Mao, you guys are naturally #1. Gao Dezhuang also coldly snorted and said, "Can you let me see this bounty?" Xiaohua was very curious and reached out his hand. TSK, as expected of the terrifying Phoenix. Qi Peng laughed. "Truly a skilled and bold person. Facing the three of us, you're actually so calm. I really have no choice but to admit defeat." As he spoke, Qi Peng waved his hand, and the sword scroll flew in front of Xiaohua. Xiaohua's divine sense scanned the sword scroll, and knew that there were no hidden cards inside. He then took it and looked inside with his divine sense for a while. He touched his nose with his hand and laughed. Inside this. The three of us don't seem to be very similar. At least, I'm not really handsome. Haha, Xiaohua, you're really interesting. Qi Peng clapped his hands. I really can't think of anything. You're just a middle-stage foundation establishment cultivator. What kind of hidden cards can you have? Even if you can suppress your cultivation, you're at most at the early stage of golden core, right? You're actually not afraid at all. I'm speaking the truth. The images in this bounty really don't look like me, Li Zongbao, and the others. Xiaohua's face was filled with helplessness. Moreover, this bounty. Isn't it too little? It's a far cry from my Dao sect's #1 bounty. It's not generous enough, not generous enough. Nonsense. Those who saw you were all disciples who were pregnant and drew their swords. They couldn't explain it clearly, so the images they drew were all different. As for the illusory swordsmen who saw you, none of them are alive, so how can there be a real image? Lian Xiaoqiao coldly snorted. However, from today onwards, at least one of the images in this bounty can be real. You're wrong. From today onwards, this bounty will still be blurry. Gao Dezhuang continued. Why? Lien Xiaoqiao was somewhat puzzled. We can naturally correct Xiaohua's image. Gao Dazhuang sneered. Xiaohua is dead, so naturally there's no need to correct it. But Xiaohua isn't dead. Lien Xiaoqiao was even more puzzled. Moreover, I don't have the confidence to kill him. The three of us working together, can't we kill him? Gao Dazhuang really wanted to pinch Lien Xiaocao's ear and tell him. What? The three of us? The three of us working together? Lien Xiaoqiao couldn't accept it as soon as he heard it. He poked the mace in his hand into the ice under his feet. With a dong sound, he stood there straight. He waved his hand and said, "He's just a Foundation establishment disciple. I know he's strong and has forced back a few of my subordinates. That's why I want to fight with him. If the three of you work together, I definitely won't do it." Gao Dazhuang was a little dumbfounded. He didn't expect the giant to be so straightforward, and he also didn't expect Lien Xiaoqiao to say such words in front of him. He somewhat resentfully glared at Lien Xiaoqiao, and then looked at Qi Peng. Not to mention Gao Dazhuang, even Xiaohua himself was stunned. He looked up and down at Lien Xiaoqiao, who didn't seem to be pretending. Then he folded his arms, clamped the wishful steel mace in his armpit, and looked at Qi Peng with a smile, as if he was waiting for Qi Peng's answer. That's right. Qi Peng also coldly said. Although the terrifying phoenix has killed many warriors of our sword region, he is still a Foundation establishment disciple. Even when he fought with our sword region's illusory sword swordsman, he was alone. I have never heard of him joining forces with that Dao sect disciple. According to the rules of our illusory sword domain, we can't work together to kill him. Even you and I are third-grade illusory swordsmen. We can't fight with a Foundation establishment disciple. But Gao Dazhuang's face was anxious. He's a terrifying phoenix. He's not an ordinary Foundation establishment cultivator. Yes, it's because he's not an ordinary Foundation establishment cultivator. He might even be a golden core cultivator. Moreover, he has killed many warriors of our illusory sword domain, so we have to fight with him. Qi Peng's face was cold as he lightly said. That's right, this is a time of war. What one-on-one fight? What alliance? It doesn't matter. Gao Dazhuang anxiously said. If we kill this terrifying phoenix, we'll take credit in front of the swordsman. We'll really raise the morale of our swordsman. We want to fight with him. But only one of the three of us can fight with him. Not, the three of us can fight together. Qi Peng said word by word. Although this is a time of war. But, the nascent soul cultivators have just gathered in the meeting hall of Sky Patrol City. The swordsmen of Ripple Country have not arrived yet. This Dao sword battle is resting. We are not fighting on the battlefield. I'm not so thick-skinned to the point of tearing apart the bottom line of illusory sword domain. But this bastard managed to kill Qin Jian. None of us have the confidence to kill him. Gao Dazhuang was a little anxious and stammered. Only if the three of us work together can we have full confidence. That's right. If the three of us work together, we have confidence. Qi Peng lightly said. I also want to kill the terrifying phoenix. However, although I'm a beast cultivator, I'm also a member of the illusory sword domain. I'm also the Valley Master of the Valley of Macaws. I can't abandon the principles of being a swordsman because of my selfishness. This principle is the foundation of our illusory sword domain. Without this principle, I won't be able to convince everyone in the Valley of Macaws. Our illusory sword domain won't be able to establish itself in the Dawn Rain continent. Chapter 2742. Good, Xiaohua almost wanted to clap his hands. This Taoist war had been going on for close to 10 years. He had seen swordsmen who were both real and fake. Some were as cunning as Qin Jian and Guan Peng. Some were as resourceful as LV Ruochang and Ling Yunwu. Some were as reasonable as Gu Yu. And some were as honest as Ji Yi. However, the only one who truly adhered to his principles was this Qi Peng in front of him. And Lien Xiaoqiao. With such people in this world, with such virtuous opponents, Xiaohua did not feel lonely at all. You all must be crazy. Gao Dazhuang was in disbelief. He really could not understand what the two were thinking. He jumped up and said, You all have to look carefully. This is a great enemy of our sword region. It is this Foundation establishment disciple who killed Ling Yunwu, and more than 10 people from the Lingfeng sword sect at Mount Quanjin. It is this person who drove Yu Ming crazy. It is this person who killed Qin Jian. It is this person who killed so many swordsmen of our sword region. You all are going to let him go just like this. Who said we are going to let him go? Lien Xiaoqiao roared and picked up his mace. He shouted, I am going to kill him with my mace. That's right. Today, even if I die, I will make him stay here. Qi Peng's face flashed with a yellow light. A strange fluctuation appeared around him as he said coldly, but you all do not have any confidence. Gao Dazhuang was about to cry. He can even kill Qin Jian, who is a third-grade illusory sword expert. You all, if you fight him alone, won't you all die? A warrior can be killed, but his will cannot be humiliated. Qi Peng said faintly. If I don't even have this awareness, how can I step into the sword transformation realm? Crazy. You all are crazier than Yu Ming. Gao Dazhuang stamped his feet. Brother Qi, are you going to do it or should I? Lien Xiaoqiao drew a big circle with his mace and said loudly, This terror phoenix has left a huge name in our mountain crossing ridge. All the boy who heard the name of the terror phoenix would be afraid. I cannot not fight with him. Let me do it. Qi Peng laughed. Your cultivation level is slightly lower than mine. Against this cruel and terrifying phoenix, you have less confidence than me. Okay. Lien Xiaoqiao propped her mace on the ground and said, Old brother Qi, go. Ha ha ha. Seeing this, Xiaohua raised his head and laughed loudly. He pointed at Qi Peng and said, Old man Qi, you keep talking about principles, but didn't you think about it? This Xiao is just a Foundation establishment cultivator. You, a third-grade illusory swordsman. Don't you feel that you are lowering your status by fighting against this Xiao? Don't you feel embarrassed? Hee, of course I have my principles. Qi Peng sneered. But I'm not pedantic. I've already said that even though you seem to be at Foundation establishment, you definitely possess the strength of a Jindan cultivator. Otherwise, Qin Jian wouldn't have fallen. Moreover, this is a time of war, and I'm not transforming into a sword. Even if I attack an aura refining disciple, it's absolutely not against the rules. Alright, if that's the case, it seems that this Xiao has no choice but to fight. Xiaohua said coldly as he twirled the staff in his hand. That's right. Unless this old man dies, don't even think about leaving this place. Qi Peng spread out his hands and 2 yellow lights flashed. 2 rows of orange-yellow feathers rushed out from his arms like flying swords. Wait. Xiaohua hurriedly said. What else do you have to say? Qi Peng slightly stagnated. The orange sword light condensed and didn't shoot out. Can this Xiao choose his own opponent? Xiaohua said in a low voice. Choose. Qi Peng was stunned, and Gao Dazhuang's expression changed. He tightened his grip on his mace, as if he understood that Xiaohua was looking for him. I, a Foundation establishment cultivator, can't choose my opponent when facing 3 illusory swordsmen? Xiaohua said very innocently. His gaze went past Qi Peng and fell on Gao Dazhuang. No, of course not. Gao Dazhuang jumped up and said, This is a battlefield, not a competition. The purpose of us besieging you is to kill you. That's right. Qi Peng sneered. In front of the 3 of us, you're just a fish on the chopping block. What qualifications do you have to be on the chopping block? Hand over your life. As Qi Peng's voice fell, the orange-yellow brilliance on the wings left his body and turned into specks of small swords, rushing toward Xiaohua like a flash flood. Woo-woo, countless strange sounds rang out as the light feathers shot out. Similarly, a hurricane was stirred up nearby. The spiritual qi of heaven and earth within a radius of several hundred feet converged towards this location. The light feathers transformed from small swords into flying swords. Ha ha ha. Who said this young master is a fish on the chopping block? Even if this young master is a small fish, you guys are still 3 inches long shrimps. Xiaohua laughed loudly. He clapped his hands, and the Kunlun mirror flew up into the sky. Xiaohua pointed his hand, and a green light flashed on the mirror, and a green light rushed out. After the green light appeared, every strand of light began to expand. The heaven and earth spirit chi that was absorbed by the light feather rapidly converged towards these strands of light. Strands of green wood that were thinner than a strand of hair began to transform from these strands of light. Rumble. In the blink of an eye, the green wood absorbed a huge amount of heaven and earth spiritual energy and turned into hundreds and thousands of small green wood. They also rushed toward Qi Peng's flying swords like a flood hiss. Qi Peng didn't underestimate Xiao Hua. At this time his heart tightened, and he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Unlike Gao Dazhuang and Lian Xiaoqiao, Qi Peng was currently facing the torrent of green wood. Although the thousands of green wood were attacking his sword light in a disorderly manner, Qi Peng was keenly aware that these green wood were not without order. There was even a kind of magic formation faintly revealed within these green wood. All the green wood faintly overflowed with intertwining magic power fluctuations, and these fluctuations occasionally flashed with a kind of indescribable confinement power. This power not only enveloped his sword light, it also enveloped the space of around 100 feet around him. The strangeness of this magic treasure was far from what Qi Peng had seen the Dao sect cultivators use before. Although the power of this Kunlun mirror might not be able to threaten Qi Peng, but it was enough to make him look at Xiao Hua in a new light. Isn't this the power of sword transformation? Qi Peng was shocked. Although he hadn't stepped into sword transformation, he could already see a trace of the mysteries of sword transformation. Naturally, he could see the difference. Then Qi Peng understood. The Dao sect's spells are indeed endless. Although this Xiao Hua's cultivation is only at the golden core stage, he can actually comprehend this. No wonder Qin Jian fell in his hands. I'm afraid my feather arrow technique won't be able to block it. Just as Qi Peng understood, the two torrents collided. Rumble. Loud noises rang out unceasingly. The light sword pierced into the green wood, and pieces of the green wood's brilliance were annihilated. At the same time, the green wood crushed the light sword under the wooden wheel. Boundless brilliance soared into the sky, illuminating the surroundings. The green brilliance intertwined with the orange brilliance, flickering intensely. Similarly intense fluctuations and surging hurricanes were also born from the foot of the mountain. Even someone as strong as Qi Peng didn't expect that the attack just now would be so powerful. His arms trembled slightly, while protecting his body. He slowly retreated more than 10 feet. However, just as Qi Peng was about to activate the feather arrow technique again, Xiao Hua's action stunned him again. Attack. Xiao Hua's figure flew into the air with the force of this attack. He patted his hand and actually took out a mace that was twice as big as the one in front of Lian Xiaoqiao. He abandoned Qi Peng and unexpectedly swung it towards Lian Xiaocao's head. You're courting death. Lian Xiaoqiao was obviously caught unprepared. When he saw that the wind from Xiao Hua's mace had already rushed to his forehead, he finally came to his senses. He roared angrily and dragged the mace into the air in an extremely embarrassing manner. However, this mace was not only a little crooked, but also a lot of mud splashed onto his face. Bang! A sound that wasn't any weaker than the sound of the Kunlun mirror colliding with the arrow rang out. The two huge spiked maces collided with each other. Even Xiaocao's arm swayed a bit. Even the solid ice under his huge body had long shattered. What surprised Qi Peng the most was that Xiao Hua's Kunlun mirror that blocked his feather arrow technique actually didn't put it into the storage bag. Instead, it quietly floated above Xiao Hua's head. Although the mirror flashed a faint tricolored brilliance from time to time, there was no fluctuation of magic power. It was obviously condensed and not released, and was extremely vigilant against him. This Xiao Hua, what is he doing? Qi Peng was somewhat confused. Could it be that he wants to fight 1 against 2, 1 against 3? Even if he's in the late stage of Jindan, he can't be so arrogant. However, Qi Peng didn't dare to be careless. The orange brilliance around his body flashed again. The wings that had already spread out several feet slowly expanded. Although he didn't go forward to attack Xiao Hua with Lian Xiaoqiao, and just as he said before, only one of them was facing Xiao Hua, he still revealed himself, and was always on guard against Xiao Hua's counterattack. Valley Master Qi. When Gao Dezhuang saw Xiao Hua first attack Qi Peng, then provoke Lian Xiaoqiao, his heart finally relaxed. The fear that suddenly appeared in his heart slowly disappeared. At this time, When he saw Qi Peng on guard, he hurriedly shouted, "This Xiaohua is bluffing. Don't look at how arrogant he is. He's just looking for the weakest among us three to force us to make the first move. This guy will definitely escape after fighting with Lian Xiaoqiao for a while. Valley Master Qi, please be prepared." At this time, Qi Peng's figure was already 50% illusory. His upper body was still in human form. When he heard Gao Dazhuang's words, a trace of understanding flashed in his eyes, but then his eyes flashed with displeasure. When Gao Dazhuang saw this, although Qi Peng didn't say anything, he immediately shut his mouth. He knew that his words had exposed some of Qi Peng's plans. It had the meaning of trying to be clever and making a fool of himself. Chapter 2743. Then Gao Dazhuang stole a glance at Xiaohua, only to find that Xiaohua was not paying attention to them at all. At this moment, Xiaohua's movements were vigorous. His figure was like a gentle breeze, but the spiked club in his hand was like a thunderbolt. The rumbling sounds were like that of a real thunder god. With a wave of his arm, it was born. Lian Xiaoqiao was the cave master of Uni Cave, and the leader of the giant tribe. His skills were naturally not comparable to ordinary giants. Not only did his arms have infinite strength, but he also had the secret staff technique of Uni Cave. This staff technique was unparalleled in the Huan country. Even against an illusory swordsman, Lian Xiaoqiao would not be at a disadvantage. However, in this short period of time, Lian Xiaoqiao had already clashed with Xiaohua more than 10 times. Lian Xiaoqiao felt that Xiaohua was almost like a hard stone wall. Every time the maces collided with each other, it would make his arms feel numb, and he couldn't use his strength in an instant. This was a situation he had never encountered before. He knew in his heart that Xiaohua's strength was definitely not inferior to his. In fact, Xiaohua was even a little stronger than him. If he let Xiaohua go crazy like this, he would only be at a disadvantage. The strength of his arms would become more and more slack. In the end, he would not be able to lift the mace. Roared Lian Xiaoqiao roared. Under the fight with Xiaohua, his body staggered a few steps. He took a deep breath and his whole body was suffused with a bronze luster. When Xiaohua saw this, he sensed a kind of obscure fluctuation coming from Lian Xiaocao's body. He couldn't help but feel surprised. He had always thought that the giants relied on their physical strength and innate physical bodies to fight, but he didn't expect that they also practiced martial arts. Sure enough, as the luster flashed around Lian Xiaocao's body, not only did the strength of Lian Xiaocao's arms gradually increase, but the mace technique also changed. Good. Xiaohua's eyebrows twitched and he was overjoyed. After shouting 3 times, he clapped his hands and the mace in his hand returned to the space. The wishful staff appeared. Woo! The wind whistled, like an ear-piercing scream, and greeted the mace. For a time, the entire nameless foothills were filled with the shadows of the staff. One of them was like a wave, while the other was like a tidal wave crashing against the shore. At first, the sounds of weapons clashing sounded like beans being fried in a hot pan. Crackling sounds rang out incessantly, but after the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the sounds of weapons clashing lessened, and could only be heard occasionally. However, this sound was extremely powerful. Although the sound did not disappear, Gao Dazhuang, who was watching from the side, trembled every time he heard the sound. His eyes flashed with hope. It seemed like it was because Xiaohua had chosen Lian Xiaoqiao instead of him, Gao Dazhuang. Even Qi Peng, whose entire body had transformed into a giant rock that was hundreds of feet in size, was somewhat perplexed by the situation with his eyes that were as sharp as swords. Because in his opinion, although Lian Xiaocao's mace did not lose to Xiaohua's wishful staff in terms of momentum, and even took the upper hand after Lian Xiaoqiao activated her secret technique, forcing Xiaohua to fly around in the air to dodge. But now, Xiaohua was still flying in the air like the wind, and Lian Xiaoqiao was like a reef standing in the tide. She could only try her best to wave her mace and stand there, not daring to move at will. This time, Xiaohua was attacking her differently. Could it be Lian Xiaocao's plan to lure the enemy? Qi Peng secretly guessed. How can this Xiaohua have such divine power? According to the defeated giant, Xiaohua should not be Lian Xiaocao's opponent. Could it be that Xiao Hua's strength has improved again during this time? This is not possible. Strength is not magical power. Not good. Just when Qi Peng was pondering, he saw Xiao Hua's figure flashing strangely with the wishful staff. It was like an afterimage but also like a clone. Lian Xiaoqiao was so scared that she turned her body sideways. The mace flashed slightly, and the huge wolf teeth flashed a cold light and hit Xiao Hua's side. However, after the sound of the mace's wind, it hit nothing. Xiao Hua's wishful staff strangely came out from Lian Xiaocao's side, and suddenly hit Lian Xiaocao's back roar. When Lian Xiaoqiao realized that the wishful staff was already close to her body, there was no way to avoid it. She could only roar and meet the wishful staff with her body. With a muffled sound, Lian Xiaocao's figure staggered, and the bronze luster on her back shone brightly. Ha! With Lian Xiaocao's failure, Xiao Hua's figure also appeared in the air. At this time, Xiao Hua's forehead was sweating, and his face was full of a fierce battle. He looked at Lian Xiaocao's back with amazement. At the place where the wishful staff hit, a fist-sized bulge quickly protruded. However, under the bronze luster, it slowly fell. Although it was not as fast as the bulge, it was still visible to the naked eye. Xiao Hua's staff. He knew in his heart that although he did not use his full strength and hurriedly attacked from the flaw of Lian Xiaocao's mace, the power inside was also very strong. Even if it was the sword light of the illusory sword, he was confident that he could defeat it. Well, even Xiao Hua himself was not confident that he would not be injured after being hit. But he did not expect that Lian Xiaoqiao would be able to take it head-on without being injured. Damn it, this giant clan is really powerful. Xiao Hua was a little flabbergasted. Although the giant clan does not know how to fly, their strength is very strong. Her strength was truly formidable and, even Xiaocao's staff technique was a bit strange. It seems that after every strike, there is a surplus of power. This surplus power is actually similar to my heavenly staff technique. It can be borrowed and used in the second strike. Even the surplus power of the second strike can be used again in the third strike. In this way, it is really a bit of a cycle. Although this young master's staff can borrow power, it can only be used in between a few moves. It is far from Lian Xiaocao's trickle-like flow of water. This must be a secret technique of the giant clan. Xiao Hua was not in a hurry to fight with Lian Xiaoqiao. Instead, he narrowed his eyes and thought, should I get this secret technique? Unfortunately, at this time, high in the sky north of the foothills, buzz several rays of biting cold sword energy shot into the sky. Not only did the floating clouds in the sky shatter into pieces, but even the pale white sunlight changed color because of it. Woo! When Qi Peng spread his wings, the orange sword light suddenly surged, causing Qi Peng to involuntarily turn his head to look. When he looked at Xiao Hua again, the originally hidden sword energy in his body involuntarily became majestic. A kind of unconcealable sword energy was born in Xiao Hua's body. Damn it! Old Ghost Huashan is here. There are actually several of them. Xiao Hua turned pale with fright and hurriedly activated the Changbai sect's secret technique to conceal the sword energy. His whole body rushed into the air as he thought to himself, this young master was previously impatient because of that dog fart Ji Peng, and almost lost his confidence. Now that I met Lian Xiaoqiao, the fight was extremely carefree. This young master is already satisfied and won't play with you guys anymore. This young master is leaving. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua did not say anything else. His body turned into the wind and floated towards the south. My eyes. Did I see wrongly? Lian Xiaoqiao was somewhat stunned. Even when Xiao Hua flew over his head, he was still at a loss. Because Lian Xiaoqiao was facing the north, he had seen the sword intent that had transformed into a sword that soared into the sky. As for the brief moment that had appeared in Xiao Hua's body, the sword intent that had almost transformed into a sword had also been inadvertently seen by him. Even though he did not cultivate the flying sword, he had an extremely strong perception towards the sword intent that transformed into a sword in the sword domain. How could Lian Xiaoqiao not be shocked when he saw the sword intent that transformed into a sword from a Dao sect cultivator? He was really shocked to the point of losing his soul. Where do you think you're going? When Qi Peng's gaze came into contact with the sword energy in the distance, he immediately came to his senses and hurriedly scanned back with his divine sense. Sure enough, Xiaohua was fleeing like a stray dog. How could he let this great enemy of the sword domain escape? With a furious roar, he spread his wings and a huge gust of wind surged from his wings. His entire body was faster than lightning as he chased after Xiaohua's back. His claws, which were sharper than flying swords, flashed with sword light as they clawed at Xiaohua's back. Xiaohua did not want to expose his identity as nameless, and did not dare to control the heavenly lightning and attract the sword energy to chase after him. He only used the wind escape technique to escape. He had only flown a few hundred feet when he suddenly felt a bone-piercing chill on his back. This great Peng is indeed powerful. This young master was wrong. Xiaohua scanned with his divine sense and immediately knew that Qi Peng was chasing after him. Moreover, Qi Peng's flying speed was far faster than his wind escape technique. No wonder this guy is so confident. He is fighting with this young master alone. With this flying technique that far surpasses others, even the golden core of the Sky Patrol City's conference hall would not be able to escape from his hands. Xiaohua raised his eyebrows. His figure was like a loach as he dodged the moment Qi Peng's claws were about to reach him. Then, as if he was unwilling to admit defeat, Xiaohua blindly activated the wind escape technique, escaping and dodging at the same time. However, the great Peng was indeed incomparably powerful. With just a flap of its wings, it could easily cover a distance of more than 10 li. Moreover, the arrows on its wings and its sharp claws that were comparable to flying swords could easily attack Xiaohua. For a short period of time, Xiaohua was surrounded by danger several times, and was almost hit by the sharp claws. Damn it, this young master forgot that this wind escape technique is Feng Buping's talent. That guy is just a bird similar to this great Peng. This young master's wind escape technique is somewhat comparable to your Feng Buping's. How can I fight against this valley master of the swarm of owls valley? Xiaohua tried his best to avoid Qi Peng's claws as he thought in exasperation. Immediately, Xiaohua clapped his hand, and the yin-yang sword gourd appeared in his hand. He pointed his finger and said, "Quick!" Following the incantation, 2 rays of spirit-slaying yuan light rushed out from the mouth of the gourd, and turned into a green and red brilliance that pounced on Qi Peng's left wing. Seeing Xiaohua take out the sword gourd, the seemingly familiar yet strange sword light spurted out from the mouth of the gourd. The incomparable killing intent immediately covered Qi Peng. Before Qi Peng could cry out in horror, the 2 sword lights had already flown between Qi Peng's left wing. Chapter 2744. Qi Peng was scared out of his wits and hastily tried to retract his wings. However, how could he retract his wings that were dozens of meters long so easily? Qi Peng had only retracted his wings by a few feet when the green-red sword light wrapped around his left wing. With a swoosh sound, the green-red sword light circled around Qi Peng's left wing. 80% of his left wing was cut off by the execution spirit vital light. As the light flickered, it was suddenly annihilated. Blood sprayed out and orange feathers scattered all over the sky. Qi Peng cried out in pain. His entire body tilted and fell down. His other wing flapped with all its might as if it was trying to maintain its balance. He really didn't expect Xiaohua's 2 sword lights to be so sharp that he couldn't resist at all. In a hurry, a dazzling light shot out from Qi Peng's right arm. It turned into an arrow and flew into the sky, as if it was sending out a distress signal. Xiaohua's cold sweat sounded in the air. "You don't need to worry. I won't take your life." Why? Qi Peng looked at Xiaohua's figure that stopped in the air and asked in disbelief. "You and Lian Xiaoqiao are the only worthy opponents I have met on the battlefield." Xiaohua said indifferently. "Just now you all didn't just swarm me because I was alone and didn't bully me with numbers. Moreover, you also did the same in the battle just now. Although you boast that your Huan country's sword cultivators have such a bottom line, how can my cultivation 3 countries not have a bottom line comparable to yours? Based on your previous open and above-board behavior, I won't take your lives today. However, you're right. Right now, we're in the middle of a battle and now we're resting. If you and I meet again that day, don't blame me for being ruthless and taking your life." As he spoke, Xiaohua's figure suddenly fell down. Like a meteorite, He fell into the mountain peak 100 meters below and mysteriously disappeared. His terrifying phoenix. It really is a terrifying phoenix. Qi Peng was shocked and couldn't help but feel a strong lingering fear in his heart. He was very glad that when facing Xiao Hua's advantage, he didn't lose his principles and didn't choose to be utilitarian like Gao Dazhuang. It was this kind of perseverance that saved his life at this moment. In other words, it saved the lives of the 3 people. To have such a worthy opponent. Isn't it my pleasure? Even if I die at the hands of such an opponent, I have no regrets. Qi Peng's heart, like Ji Ye's heart, a hero's is a hero's hero. Following which, Qi Peng's figure slowly recovered. The severed arm that had fallen in midair also flew to his side. Qi Peng opened his mouth and spat out an orange-yellow brilliance, which covered the severed arm. As the orange-yellow brilliance retracted, the severed arm also fell into Qi Peng's mouth. The brilliance around Qi Peng's body grew brighter and a strange, rock-like Dharma idol appeared on Qi Peng's back. With a long cry, the Dharma idol disappeared again. However, with just this cry, Qi Peng's originally yellow face instantly turned deathly pale, as if he had used up a lot of his heart's blood. When the long cry disappeared, an orange-yellow brilliance shot out from Qi Peng's severed arm. A feather-like object flashed out from the brilliance. Then, the brilliance retracted and the feather gradually trembled. Countless strands of blood appeared from the brilliance and quickly wrapped around the feather. After half a cup of tea's time, another orange-yellow arm grew out from Qi Peng's left shoulder. Terrifying phoenix. Even if you pay attention to kill this Qi, you still don't have the strength to do so. Qi Peng faintly chuckled. With a pat of his hand, he took out several medicinal pills from his storage bag and threw them into his mouth without even looking. Once the medicinal effects had spread, he once again slowly flew up. Without activating his wings, he flew towards the foot of the mountain where he had previously fought with Xiao Hua. At this time, only Lian Xiaoqiao stood there in a daze. His brows were tightly knitted, as if he was thinking about something. Swordsman Lian. Qi Peng looked around and asked curiously, "Where's Swordsman Gao?" "He went to chase after Xiao Hua," Lian Xiaoqiao said casually, as if he wasn't too interested in Gao Dazhuang's whereabouts. Swordsman Lian. Qi Peng understood Lian Xiaocao's thoughts. He flew to his side and said, "That terrifying phoenix is really powerful. You don't mind it. Losing to him is nothing. You always come out unscathed. And just now, this Qi was injured by Xiao Hua's strange magic weapon. Moreover, I almost lost my life." "Ah, he is actually so powerful?" Lian Xiaocao's face turned pale. He didn't quite believe Qi Peng's words. Qi Peng naturally wouldn't tell him the details of how his wings were cut off by Xiao Hua. He only smiled and said, "Of course. Why would this old man lie to you? This guy can even kill Qin Jian, who is at the 3rd grade of the illusory sword. What's more, we are not real swordsmen of the sword region. Xiao Hua is indeed powerful. His arms have the strength of 10,000 caddies." Lian Xiaoqiao hesitated for a moment and said in a low voice, "Even his staff technique is unique. It's not much worse than my ancestral staff technique. He can defeat this Qi Peng and even kill this Qi Peng." This Qi Peng is convinced. But just now, when Senior Huajian's sword intent appeared, his body also had Huajian's sword intent. That might be slightly weaker than Senior Huajian's sword intent, but it's still Huajian. "What? Huajian's sword intent? Are you sure?" Qi Peng was naturally shocked and asked Lian Xiaoqiao in an incredulous tone. Alas, this Qi Peng has been thinking about the Huajian's sword intent. "The more I think about it, the more scared I am. Valley Master Qi should know that although my Huajian doesn't cultivate flying swords, I'm not unfamiliar with flying swords. I'm even very sensitive to them. My Huajian lineage hid in Huajian because we couldn't cultivate flying swords. How could I be wrong about the Huajian's sword intent?" Since Lian Xiaoqiao said so, he revealed everything. Since Xiao Hua has Huajian's cultivation, could he be someone from the sword region? Hearing this, Qi Peng also understood Lian Xiaocao's fear. That's right. Everyone in the sword region knew that when LV Ruochang entered the sword tomb, he was lured into the 10 directions annihilation formation by a Huajian sword intent. Moreover, That sword intent also contained the sword energy of the Huajian sword sect. If this Xiao Hua really had Huajian's sword intent, then the matter of luring sword cultivators into the formation must have been done by him. How could a cultivator like Xiao Hua be able to cultivate Huajian in the three kingdoms? He must have cultivated in the sword region. But since he cultivated in the sword region, then he must be one of the sword region's Huajian. Qi Peng even wanted to slap his head and say the name of a certain Huajian senior. However, did Qi Peng dare? The reason why Lian Xiaocao's face was pale seemed to be because of this. To be able to sneak into the sword region and cultivate Huajian, this Dao sect could not be said to be small. Although any Huajian couldn't destroy the Huajian Valley or Huajian Mountain Ridge, if they deliberately went against these two sects, even the many Huajian swords who came to the Lian kingdom to participate in the war would have to think twice. The more he thought, the paler Qi Peng's face became. He didn't dare to imagine. If he reported this matter to the Huajian swords, what kind of situation would that be? Suspicion and jealousy would immediately become the mainstream among the Huajian swords. There was no need to fight this battle of swords anymore. The sword region had already lost. Be careful with your words, Qi Peng glanced at Lian Xiaocao, and there was an inexplicable meaning in their eyes. For a moment, the wind whistled in the foothills. The two of them didn't dare to say another word, as if they said half a word more, the whole battle situation would be reversed. After the time it took for half an incense stick to burn, an anxious voice sounded, Valley Master Qi, Valley Master Qi. From the distant mountain rocks, a tall and strong figure suddenly appeared. His face was also pale, and even had the same fear. As soon as he saw Qi Peng, he shouted loudly. Qi Peng frowned slightly and asked, Fellow swordsman Gao, did you catch up to Xiao Hua? Although Gao Dazhuang was panicking, when he saw Qi Peng's frown he immediately understood what Qi Peng was thinking. He hurriedly smiled and said, When I saw Valley Master Qi chasing after Xiao Hua, I immediately used the earth escape technique to go in front of Xiao Hua to block him. Who would have thought that before I could escape from the earth, I saw Xiao Hua also escape into the mountain rocks. I won't hide it from Valley Master Qi, this fiend really scared me. I thought that he discovered my whereabouts, so I hid in the mountain rocks and didn't dare to move. Fortunately, that fiend didn't discover my whereabouts, but used the 5 elements escape technique. When Gao Dazhuang said this, the smile on his face didn't deepen. Instead, it slowly disappeared, and the heavy fear appeared in his eyes again. Guess, what did I see? What did you see? Qi Peng was shocked. He raised his eyes to look at Lian Xiaocao. The two of them almost thought that Gao Dazhuang also saw the Huajian swordsmanship on Xiao Hua's body. Who would have thought that Gao Dazhuang's words would make them even more shocked? Gao Mao hid for a while, and saw that the fiend didn't notice Gao Mao. Instead he swaggered and used the 5 elements escape technique. Therefore, Gao Mao boldly followed behind him, wanting to see if there was a chance to kill him in the rocks. Gao Dazhuang continued, However, although that fiend's 5 elements escape technique isn't as wonderful as my cloud caves, it also has its own wonders. Although I could catch up, I couldn't get close. After he escaped for dozens of miles, he actually escaped from the mountain rocks again. At this point, Gao Dazhuang hesitated again. He paused for a moment and continued, When I saw that fiend come out of the earth, I knew that I had already lost the chance to kill him. I originally wanted to return to this place. But this Gao was truly unwilling to accept this, so I quietly left the soil. However, just as this Gao came out of the soil, I heard a burst of thunder coming from above this Gao's head. That Xiao Hua actually rode on the thunder, and rushed towards the south at a speed that this Gao couldn't see clearly. Chapter 2745. That Xiao Hua is a disciple of the Imperial Thunder sect. Being able to control lightning is nothing. Knowing that Gao Dazhuang didn't see Xiao Hua's sword intent, Lian Xiaocao was relieved and said. However, Qi Peng suddenly realized and said anxiously, You said that Xiao Hua's lightning escape technique was so fast that even you couldn't see it clearly? Yes. If it was a simple lightning escape technique, would I still be so scared? Gao Dazhuang's eyes flashed with pride. I can guarantee Valley Master Qi that this terrifying phoenix Xiao Hua Is that Nameless from the Imperial Thunder sect? How is that possible? Lien Xiaoqiao was the first to jump up. Nameless is a nascent soul cultivator. He has already returned to the Imperial Thunder sect at this point. Lien Xiaoqiao seemed to have thought of something and his face changed again. He looked at Qi Peng with a terrifying gaze. At this time, Qi Peng, who received Gao Dazhuang's news, was dumbstruck. He had the same thought as Lien Xiaoqiao. Yes, if Xiaohua was nameless, then these two cultivators with completely different faces and images were actually the same person. Then, Xiaohua, who possessed the sword transformation technique. Could he transform into any sword transformation swordsman? Although the sword transformation technique might not be transformed, but since Xiaohua could transform into a face, how could he not transform into a sword transformation technique? This was too inconceivable and too terrifying, wasn't it? Facing such an opponent who had countless incarnations and whose strength was close to nascent soul and sword transformation realm, perhaps the entire sword catacomb was really destroyed by him. Even if there were tens of thousands of swordsmen in the sword domain, who could be his opponent? Think about it. This is a nascent soul cultivator. Gao Dazhuang was extremely lucky. Just now he didn't kill us in one fell swoop. We are really lucky. How is that possible? Qi Peng said coldly. Don't you think that if that Xiaohua was nameless, how could he let us go? Besides, Sword Friend Lien fought with Xiaohua before. Why did he think that Xiaohua couldn't be a nascent soul cultivator? That's right. Lien Xiaoqiao, who had always been slow to react, immediately came to her senses and hurriedly said, if he is a nascent soul cultivator, how can he compete with me in terms of battle strength? You'll be able to kill us with just one spell, right? How can you be so sure that Xiaohua is John Doe just by hearing about his lightning evasion? But Gao Dazhuang was a little anxious. Whenever he heard the sound of thunder, he would think of the famous Wuming. But now that Xiaoqiao had mentioned it, he was a little uncertain. Sigh, fellow swordsman Gao, what you say makes sense, but it's too far-fetched. If we report this to the swordsmanship master without any basis, I'm afraid that the swordsmanship master will think that we're making this report out of fear or defeat. Isn't that a bit inappropriate? Qi Peng thought for a moment and sighed. Why don't we discuss it first and find a reliable swordsman who can definitely handle the situation? Why don't we explain it in front of all the teachers first? That's right, that's how it should be. Gao Dazhuang didn't have any ideas and hurriedly clapped his hands and cheered. At this time, in the north, dozens of swordsmen were flying over on their swords. There were 3rd-grade illusory swords and 6th-grade bright swords. They were all attracted by Qi Peng's previous distress signal. Let's go, Qi Peng sighed for no reason. He was just passing by with Gao Dazhuang and Lien Xiaoqiao. To think that they would encounter such a plot by the Taoist sect. He definitely had to report this matter. However, how to report it and who to report it to was another problem. Xiaohua, who was flying on lightning, was in an extremely good mood. Although the battle with Lien Xiaoqiao had consumed his strength, it had also lessened the gloominess in his heart. The power of the spirit-slaying vital light once again proved that he still had the strength to kill 3rd-grade illusory swords, and was not as powerless as he was in the blood-drop paradise. Perhaps only by fighting can I really increase my strength. At this time, Xiaohua also somewhat believed the purpose of Xiao Mao and Li Zongbao's participation in the battle. Xiaohua was refreshed, but he didn't expect that he would so easily reveal his flaws in front of Qi Peng, Lien Xiaoqiao, and Gao Dazhuang, giving the mysterious John Doe a weakness that could be used against him. Although this weakness was still a little fake, a weakness was still a weakness. As long as some people saw it, it would eventually become the truth. However, this was not the most serious thing. After all, these were the suspicions of the swordsmen of the Huan Kingdom. Even if they knew that Xiaohua was John Doe, it would only increase the horror and add a thick stroke to the already famous name of the terrifying Phoenix. Compared to these, what happened in Sky Patrol City at this time was enough to knock Xiaohua down to the mortal world and kill him by a Yuanying stage cultivator. In Sky Patrol City, in the City Lord's mansion, Immortal Shui Yu's face had a trace of coldness. He was sitting on a futon, and Fong Lengbai and Jin Keng were still standing respectfully in front of him. As usual, The two golden elixir disciples kept their mouths shut, and their eyes were fixed on the ground. They didn't dare to raise their heads at all. This was because they knew that although immortal Shui Yu looked calm on the surface, his heart was already in turmoil. If they said something wrong, they were afraid that they would immediately bring about an unexpected disaster. After an unknown period of time, immortal Shui Yu snorted coldly, scaring Jin Keng and Fang Lengbai. The two looked at each other and knew that they couldn't ignore it. They hurriedly bowed and asked, "City Lord Yu, why are you doing this? Didn't you hold a banquet in the City Lord's mansion to invite the Yuanying stage masters from various sects?" During the banquet, the masters spoke highly of Sky Patrol City. Why? Why is the City Lord so angry after returning to the mansion? A group of ignorant people. You've gone too far in bullying Sky Patrol City. As Daoist Shui Yu let out an angry roar, he slammed his palm into the air. There was a whistling sound as if there was a hurricane. Then there was a loud bang, and the air suddenly exploded. Countless airwaves spread out in all directions. Golden Core disciples like Jin Keng and Fang Lengbai couldn't stand still in the airwaves. They had to take a few steps back before they were able to stand still with great difficulty. However, at this time, the two of them were relieved. After all, immortal Shui Yu was angry and pointed out the source of his anger. They should be fine. Sure enough, they heard immortal Shui Yu say angrily, "I held a banquet in the City Lord's mansion to entertain them. They really think that they are the masters of Sky Patrol City." Lengbai, tell me, how much did Sky Patrol City invest in this battle? How many disciples did we lose? In the face of immortal Shui Yu's sudden question, Fang Lengbai was stunned. However, he immediately replied, reporting to the City Lord, Sky Patrol City's direct and indirect losses were huge. Not to mention the spiritual stones, a few spiritual stone veins were taken away by sword cultivators. Even if they were taken back, the spiritual stones inside were long gone and have been abandoned. The spiritual stones should be in the tens of millions or even hundreds of millions. What I can say is the loss of disciples in Sky Patrol City. Fang Lengbi said bitterly. In the past 10 years, our Sky Patrol City has lost 138,096 disciples. Among them, the Golden Elixir disciples. Before Fang Lengbai could finish, immortal Shui Yu was furious again when he heard the shocking number. How many disciples does Sky Patrol City have in total? So many died in a battle of Dao cultivators. And what does this mean in the eyes of those ignorant people? Sky Patrol City stands in the north of the country of Shi, and is the vanguard of Shi Dao sect. Sky Patrol City's actions are the example of Dao sect. We should learn from the three kingdoms of cultivation. This old man feels that your words are truly laughable. Is my Sky Patrol City worthy of such praise? Immortal Shui Yu said angrily. In addition to this sentence, all the nascent soul cultivators at the banquet were praising one another. One said that this battle was outstanding, and one said that another sect's disciple was brave. What do they take Sky Patrol City for? Fang Lengbai and Jin Keng lowered their heads. The corners of their eyes twitched slightly. They could hear that it was Sun Yunzi of Shanghua sect who said that Sky Patrol City was only a chess piece of Shanghua sect, a fortress. The condescending praise made them unhappy. Look at Imperial Thunder sect. Isn't that Golden Core disciple called Qian Mo self-destructing? They actually said that he was extremely loyal and brave. His schemes are unparalleled in the world. At the mention of the Imperial Thunder sect, Shui Yu became even angrier. The Imperial Thunder sect set up such a great formation in the sword domain. It's the 10-direction annihilation formation, but they didn't even greet me. Who are they guarding against? They are guarding against me. They are guarding against my Sky Patrol City. My Sky Patrol City's GMO also fell in the sword catacomb battle. Did anyone mention it? Furthermore, what does that bullshit Qian know? No one paid attention to him in the conference hall. He only made jokes that would make people laugh. What does he know about formations? Wasn't the formation of the sword catacomb thought of by Tu Hong of my Sky Patrol City? Poof! There was another explosion in the void, scaring Jin Keng and Fang Leng into shrinking their necks again. Needless to say, Shui Yu's Daoist master mentioned Tu Hong and Xiaohua again. Xiao Hua of the Imperial Thunder Sect assassinated my Jindan stage disciple for his own selfish reasons, and even usurped my Sky Patrol City's merit points. Imperial Thunder Sect, Imperial Thunder Sect, they are really shameless. No wonder Qian Lazy didn't dare to come to Sky Patrol City. No wonder Dui Jie didn't dare to enter my Sky Patrol City. They are all up to something. When he heard up to here, Fang Lingbai forcefully restrained his panic and said in a low voice, "City Governor, actually, during the banquet earlier, you should have directly exposed the thunder-controlling sect's hypocritical ghost face, and asked Xiao Hua to come out and confront him." What do you know? Immortal Shuiyu snorted. Imperial Thunder Sect must be targeting my Sky Patrol City. They must want to expand their power in the northern part of the country of Xi. How can they leave any loopholes? Even if I say it in front of them, Qian Lazy is not here. Will Immortal Miyu admit it? Didn't you see that crazy genius? Damn it, he just stepped into the nascent soul realm. But his nose is already on the top of his head. Can he answer me? If I say it, it will be enough to make me lose face. Actually, City Lord, you don't have to do this. You just need to use the name of rewarding merits to send Xiao Hua to Sky Patrol City. Jin Keng saw that Fang Lingbai had opened his mouth and he couldn't just stand there, so he quickly added, "Do you think I don't want to say it?" Immortal Shuiyu squinted at the two of them, and seemed to vent his anger a little. He said, "When I just opened my mouth, Kuang Tian praised the Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples for their bravery. It seemed that except for the Imperial Thunder Sect, the disciples of other sects were just a mob. He even asked me about Xiao Hua's whereabouts. It was as if Xiao Hua's delay in coming to Sky Patrol City was the responsibility of Sky Patrol City." "Yes, we also heard it," Jin Keng hurriedly said. Immortal He Ping of the Utopia faction praised Li Zongbao, Xiao Mao, and Xiao Hua very much. He also said that the three of them would be the rising stars of the three kingdoms of cultivation in the future. In the next sword battle, the three of them would be on duty in the conference hall. Indeed, Fang Lingbai also said. Immortal Yixian and Fairy Jieqiong of the Xuanyan school even said that Xiao Mao was 100 times better than Li Zongbao. If it weren't for Immortal He Ping's excellent bearing. He Ping is the head of the Utopia faction. How could he lower himself to their level? Immortal Shuiyu curled his lips and said, "Fairy Yingzhua of the Xuanyan school has always been a female cultivator, who is not afraid of trouble. She has always liked to join in the fun. I don't know why she suddenly went into seclusion this time. Is she really going to break through?" Chapter 2746. I don't think so. Fang Lingbai said hurriedly. Fairy Yingzhua is already a cultivator in the late stage of the nascent soul realm. Her cultivation is even lower than that of Sun Yunzi of the Shanghua sect and Luan Aizhenren of the Qiqiao sect. How could she reach the soul formation realm when the two seniors didn't do anything? Could it be that Senior Yingzhua has some scruples like Qian Lazy? Jin Keng glanced at Master Shui and asked in a low voice. Maybe. Master Shui waved his hand impatiently. Lingbai, those gold core cultivators in the conference hall made such a big move and you didn't know anything about it. With a plop, Fang Lingbai's face turned as white as snow. He hurriedly knelt on the ground and begged, "City Lord, this is all my fault. My arrangements were wrong and delayed City Lord's plan. Get up." Master Shui said coldly, "You're also a gold core cultivator. There's no reason for you to kneel." This subordinate Fang Lingbai still didn't dare to get up, and said in a low voice, "This subordinate is the City Lord's subordinate, and also stepped into the Golden Core realm under the City Lord's guidance. This subordinate naturally wouldn't kneel to anyone else, but it's only right for this subordinate to kneel to the City Lord." "Humph, get up." Master Shui sneered. "You didn't make much contribution in this battle, but you made a lot of mistakes. However, you've been working hard for my Sky Patrol City. Even if you don't have any merits, you've still worked hard. Think about how you'll be punished after the battle and report to me." "Yes, I know. I'll definitely do my best for the Sky Patrol City." Fang Lingbai didn't dare to kneel anymore. He hurriedly got up, wiped the sweat on his forehead and said in a low voice, "Please punish yourself too. Jin Kung, who was next to him, hurriedly said, "What this subordinate has done is not as much as others, so there are fewer mistakes, but I have neither merit nor fault. Please punish me, City Lord." "Humph, you're the same as Lingbai. We'll talk about it after the battle." Master Shui's face turned ugly, but there was no anger in his eyes. Besides, what about Wu Ming from the thunder-controlling sect? However, Sage Shuiyu's casual question startled Fong Lingbai. He quickly smiled and said, I only know that Nameless appeared in the Seven Extremes Ridge once, and then appeared in the Sword Catacomb. As for who he is, I don't know." This person's cultivation is amazing. He can actually conceive a baby in the Sword Tomb. This really surprises this old man." Shuiyu's spiritual master didn't blame Fong Lingbai this time. He said lightly, "It would be strange if you found out about such a mysterious person." Then he laughed at himself and said, "It's not just you. Even the current thunder-controlling sect is having a headache because they don't know which Thunder Palace this Wu Ming is from." Facing Sun Yunzi and Reverend Lu Su's questions, Reverend Miyu doesn't even know how to answer. Actually, Fong Lung hesitated and said in a low voice, "In my opinion, the thunder-controlling sect might know who Wu Ming is." "Oh, what do you think?" Shuiyu asked, slightly taken aback. "City Lord, think about it. Is it easier to dodge a spear in the open, or an arrow in the dark?" Fong Lingbai didn't dare to say more. Good, Shuiyu's spiritual master immediately understood. He clapped his hands and said, "Lung, you're really smart. The thunder-controlling sect only has so many late-stage gold core disciples. How could they not know who Wu Ming is? Their spiritual master Quangtian has just advanced to the nascent soul realm, and has been targeted by the Shanghua sect, Xiuanyan school, and Qiqiao sect. This Wu Ming, I'm afraid he didn't want to attract the attention of the three sects, so he came to my Sky Patrol City to find a chance to conceive a baby. But it just so happened that it caused such a big sensation. It's hard for Wu Ming not to be famous. Not to mention my Sky Patrol City, the Shanghua sect and the other two sects must have sent more people to find Wu Ming. Under such circumstances, would the thunder-controlling sect dare to expose Wu Ming's background?" Yes, you're right, City Lord." Fong Lingbai hurriedly smiled. "I just thought that Wu Ming wanted to hide his cultivation, and didn't want others to know. I didn't think that City Lord had thought so thoroughly and so much." City Lord Jin Kung didn't dare to say much so that Fong Lingbai could perform more. But when he heard this, his face suddenly changed and he hurriedly said, I suddenly have an idea. I don't know if I should say it." "Say it." Shuiyu's spiritual master waved his hand. "What can't you say in the City Lord's mansion?" This subordinate also suddenly had a thought, that Wu Ming, is he Xiaohua? These words were like a bolt of lightning that flashed across the entire mansion. Shuiyu and Fong Lingbai were both startled, especially Fong Lingbai. He excitedly said, "That's right, Lord City Lord, it really is possible. Only Xiaohua, who is nameless and possesses strength at the peak of the late Jindan stage, is able to assassinate junior brother Tu Hong, kill Qin Jian, and establish such a meritorious service." Shuiyu's spiritual master's eyes flashed with surprise and then disappeared. He looked at the excited Fong Lingbai and shook his head. I'm afraid it's not right." "Why?" Fong Lingbai didn't understand. "Haha, it's simple. That Wu Ming is a disciple of the Imperial Thunder sect of unknown origin to us. Of course, in the Imperial Thunder sect, it's impossible for him to be unknown," Shuiyu's spiritual master said with a smile. "And Xiaohua is a disciple of the Imperial Thunder sect of the Imperial Thunder sect. No matter how high his cultivation is, it's impossible for him to surpass the mid-stage gold core realm. Don't forget, Qian Mo of the Heavenly Thunder Palace is only at the mid-stage gold core realm. The Imperial Thunder sect can't send another mid-stage gold core disciple to hide among them. Also, Xiaohua and that Chui something are fellow disciples. Their master seems to have just reached the late-stage foundation establishment realm. How could Xiaohua be pregnant? Of course, you can also say that Xiaohua was only a mid-stage foundation establishment realm disciple when he first came to our Sky Patrol City. In these 10 years, And in the Mount Quanjin array, his cultivation improved by leaps and bounds. But do you think he can be pregnant in such a short time? But he was able to assassinate Junior 2 and kill Qinjian, Fang Lingbai said with some dissatisfaction. Haha, when he assassinated Tu Hong, he didn't use our Dao sex technique. I don't know how he killed Qinjian, but I know that from the mid-stage foundation establishment realm to the core formation realm, 10 years is possible. But from the mid-stage gold core realm to the core formation realm, 10 years is absolutely impossible. Not to mention from the mid-stage foundation establishment realm to the core formation realm. That's hundreds of years of hard work. When it came to the core formation realm, Fang Lingbai naturally couldn't debate with Shuiyu spiritual master. Moreover, the reason they regarded Xiaohua as nameless was because of Shuiyu's assertion that it was Xiaohua who killed Tu Hong. As for this matter, it seemed like it was only a guess and was far from being true. Since it was like this, Fang Lingbai could only resentfully say, Sir City Lord is right. But what if Wu Ming isn't pregnant, but core formation realm? Ha ha ha. Then that's even more nonsense. Shuiyu spiritual master laughed and said, do you think Lu Ruochang and the other third-grade illusory swordsmen went to the sword catacomb to play? They set up the 4-square sword formation to kill the hundreds of thousands of Dao sect cultivators. At the final critical moment, if they weren't suppressed by Wu Ming's nascent soul realm aura, would they let go so easily? Didn't you see Lu Ruochang forcing Wu Ming to let go in order to kill Heng Ming and the others? If it weren't for the timely battle report from the Lian Kingdom, Wu Ming would have killed Lu Ruochang and the others on the spot. You're definitely not a nascent soul realm cultivator. How could others do such a thing? Yes, that's true. I've made a mistake. Fang Lingbai nodded. Shuiyu spiritual master's words were indeed reasonable. Actually, for my Sky Patrol City, the most important thing now is not to find Wu Ming nor to kill Xiaohua, Shuiyu spiritual master said thoughtfully, but to find the reason why the sword catacomb disappeared. Speaking of the disappearance of the sword catacomb, Fang Lingbai and Jin Keng were even more puzzled. Yes, this was one of the 10 most dangerous places in the Xiaoyu continent. Although it was ranked at the bottom, it was still extremely dangerous. No nascent soul realm cultivator or sword transformation cultivator dared to enter it easily. However, such a dangerous place had actually disappeared completely in the Battle of the Tao of the Sword. Other than some space cracks left behind, all the remaining arrays, sword formations, and sorrowful sword intent and sharp sword light had disappeared. This was something that they had never even dreamt of. Without the sword catacomb, the sword cultivators of the Huan country can easily enter the country of Xi. My Sky Patrol City will bear the brunt. Shuiyu spiritual master frowned and said, facing the sword cultivators' attack head-on, my Sky Patrol City will not be able to handle it. Yes, my Sky Patrol City has suffered too much damage in this battle. I don't know if my Sky Patrol City will be able to recover in another battle in 100 years or hundreds of years. Jin Keng also sighed. Fang Lingbai was still frowning and said in confusion, the sword transformation sword intent in the sword catacomb. The dragon's roar before the sword catacomb disappeared. And the celestial phenomenon when Wu Ming was pregnant was different from that of ordinary cultivators. What's the connection? Although Wu Ming himself said that the disappearance of the sword catacomb had nothing to do with him, it doesn't mean that it has nothing to do with him. I was the one who said that the disappearance of the sword catacomb had nothing to do with me. Shuiyu spiritual master sneered. But if I said that, wouldn't I become the laughing stock of the world? Yes, I also think that even if Wu Ming is a nascent soul realm cultivator, it has nothing to do with the disappearance of the sword catacomb. Jin Keng nodded. And it has nothing to do with the sword transformation sword intent. It should have something to do with the dragon's roar. The dragon's roar. Where did it come from? Shuiyu spiritual master was really puzzled. My Dawn Rain continent has never had such a high-level demonic beast. Lingbai, how's your investigation? Fang Lingbai's forehead was covered in sweat again, and he hurriedly said, I've sent many disciples to the sword catacomb, but they didn't find anything special. The fierce wind when the sword catacomb disappeared destroyed all the traces, leaving nothing behind. Yes, and 20 years ago, someone reported that Many cultivators went missing in the sword catacomb? Shuiyu spiritual master asked again. Ah. Fang Lingbai was slightly stunned, and then he smiled bitterly. Every year, many cultivators die in the sword catacomb. I've sent people to investigate the matter 20 years ago, but first, those cultivators were mostly rogue cultivators, and second, the cultivators' realms were low, at most in the late stage of foundation establishment. Weren't they seeking death by entering the sword catacomb? This matter has nothing to do with my Sky Patrol city, and I didn't find anything, so I stopped. Shuiyu spiritual master seemed to ask casually, and then he looked outside the palace door, as if thinking about something. Fang Lingbai let out a long sigh of relief, and looked at Jin Keng, who was also very cautious, and felt that his back was wet. Actually, after a long time, Shuiyu spiritual master's faint voice sounded from his mouth. I'm angry today, not because of your mistakes and not because of the heavy losses of my Sky Patrol city. When Fang Lingbai and Jin Keng heard this, they couldn't help but be stunned, and looked at each other in shock. Their eyes were filled with deep vigilance. After the banquet, Sun Yunzi of the Shanghua sect said a few words to me. Shuiyu spiritual master seemed to be speaking calmly, but his tone was heavy and filled with unwillingness. Fang Lingbai and Jin Keng knew that this was definitely not the time for them to ask questions, so they closed their mouths and quietly waited for Shuiyu spiritual master to explain. Now, the Great War of Dao and Sword has come to an end. The sword cultivators attacked our 3 cultivation countries en masse, and a large area of the Ripple country fell into their hands. Looking at the war over the past 10 years, this sword cultivator Lu Ruochang is truly amazing. His control of all the formations and formations can be described as flawless, unpredictable, and so on. At this point, Master Shuiyu paused for a moment. Chapter 2747. Fang Lingbai and the others nodded as they listened. That was right. The sword cultivator's plan was perfect in this battle. It was simply flawless. Not to mention the Golden Core cultivators in the conference hall. Even if they were to face LV Ruochang, they would not be able to escape the fate of being defeated. Master Shuiyu paused for a moment and said, in the beginning, when they attacked the territory, we thought that the sword cultivators were training their disciples like before. Then, when they attacked the Spirit Stone mine, we thought that they wanted to snatch the Spirit Stones. Finally, when they set up the formation in the sword catacomb, we thought that they wanted to kill our disciples. However, no one expected LV Ruochang to come up with a plan that revealed their ultimate goal. They wanted to occupy the land of the Lian Kingdom. Throughout the 10 Years' War, LV Ruochang led the Golden Core cultivators in the meeting hall by the nose. Compared to her, the Golden Core cultivators in the meeting hall were simply a group of Jurassic beasts. I don't know how this little girl planned it. Even I can't figure out what she's thinking. Master Shuiyu sighed. There's no if. Tu Hong was assassinated by Xiaohua, which destroyed the foundation of our sect. It would be strange if we didn't lose the war. Jin Keng and Fang Lingbai were puzzled when they heard that Master Shuiyu was talking about the war, and seemed to have nothing to do with Sun Yunzi. They thought about it as they listened, but they did not expect Master Shuiyu to say anything. Now that the sword cultivators of the Huan Kingdom have retreated from the Sky Patrol city, and went around the sword catacomb to the Lian Kingdom, our Sky Patrol city is no longer a stronghold. If the meeting hall is set up in our Sky Patrol city, it will be disadvantageous for the war. Master Shuiyu finally said. Sun Yunzi has already discussed with the sect leaders of the other 2 kingdoms to move the meeting hall to the Lian Kingdom. Ah. What? The meeting hall is being moved from our Sky Patrol city? Fang Lingbai and Jin Keng were shocked. This was something they had never thought of. It seemed that the meeting hall had been set up in the Sky Patrol city since the beginning of the Taoist Sword War. Although the meeting hall was the core of the sect's war command, the Sky Patrol city had already treated the meeting hall as part of its territory. They had never heard of the meeting hall being moved from the Sky Patrol city. How can this be? Jin Keng was at a loss for words. How can the meeting hall be removed from my Sky Patrol city? When the birds are gone, the bow is put away. When the cunning rabbit is dead, the hound is cooked. Fong Lingbai sneered. Although the great battle has yet to end, the nascent soul cultivators of the various sects have all gathered. Even if Huashan Sword has the power to reach the heavens, I'm afraid that he will not be able to reverse the outcome of the great battle of Tao and Sword. In any case, they had collected enough energy stones and trained their own disciples. With 1 million energy stones, these iron-blooded disciples would be able to fight against soul cultivators in Meng Mountains. The wishes of those who transformed into swords had been fulfilled. What else was there to say? As long as the confrontation lasted for a year and a half, Huajian would gain face and everything would be over. The sword cultivators would then return to Hung Country. These nascent soul cultivators had also contributed greatly. But what about the contributions of my Sky Patrol City? I'm afraid that with the departure of the meeting hall, the lives of the 180,000 disciples of Sky Patrol City will be lost. Damn it! Despicable! How hateful! Jin Kung came to his senses and said hatefully, "The various sects of the 3 kingdoms of cultivation. What do they take my Sky Patrol City for?" "What? Nothing at all." Fong Lingbai sneered. "What 9 great cities? What 10 great cities? They're just pawns in their eyes. They're just a bunch of wild foxes." Speaking of this, Fong Lingbai's face showed a hint of interest. He clapped his hand and took out a jade slip. He handed it to Immortal Shuiyu respectfully and said, "Didn't the city lord ask me to pay attention to the news of the Heavenly Demon Sect? It turns out that the Heavenly Demon Sect is so mysterious that it's really difficult for me to find their whereabouts. Now the Heavenly Demon Sect has established a sect in Shi Country, Ming Country, and Lian Country at the same time. This is really a slap in the face for those self-proclaimed orthodox cultivators." "Oh, is that so? When did this happen?" Immortal Shuiyu was also stunned. He waved his hand and the jade slip flew into his hand. He then checked it with his divine sense. "I just received the news," Fong Lingbai said in a low voice. "According to the disciple who sent the message, it happened in the past 10 days or so. My Sky Patrol City is still not as good as those cultivators." A strange look flashed across Immortal Shuiyu's eyes. Sun Yunzi and the others are probably worried that the Heavenly Demon Sect will cause trouble behind their backs. That's why they moved the command center to Lian Country. That must be it. They probably just received the news and changed their plans. They haven't even decided where to put the meeting hall. Qing Fengmin? Is that the sect leader of the Heavenly Demon Sect? How come I've never heard of him?" Immortal Shuiyu said with a smile. "If I knew what kind of immortal this Qing Fengmin is, I would really want to befriend him and drink with him. This kind of real demon is much more adorable than the sanctimonious cultivators of the Tao sect." "All right, I'll let the city lord know." Fong Lingbai said with a smile. This Qing Fengmin was originally a rogue cultivator organization, one of the founders of the Heavenly Forsaken. This Heavenly Forsaken has a great reputation among the low-level cultivators of the 3 countries of cultivation. It's said that they can provide any cultivation technique below the 7th level of qi refining. Many rogue cultivators joined, and their numbers were quite large. However, it seems that several decades ago, this Heavenly Forsaken suddenly disappeared. This Qing Fengmin, and the founder named Luo Jiesin, were all killed. Furthermore, some sects even sent out information that this Heavenly Forsaken was a tool used by Qing Fengmin and Luo Jiesin to suck the flesh and blood of cultivators. Who knew? This Qing Fengmin didn't die. He even established a sect and became the sect leader of the Heavenly Demon Sect? It's really strange. Without waiting for Fong Lingbai to finish, Immortal Shuiyu sneered. "What's so strange about it? The truth is definitely different from what the cultivator sects said. I'm almost certain that this Heavenly Forsaken must have touched the interests of some cultivator sections. That's why he was killed by those sections. It's fine if they killed him, but they even labeled him as a demon's flesh and blood food. But now he had really cultivated the Devil Tao and established his own sect. Those cultivator sects that attacked him are probably sitting on pins and needles now. This Qing Fengmin is really amazing," Jin Kung said with admiration. He actually took advantage of the time when the nascent soul cultivators from various sects came to our Sky Patrol city and established a sect during the Sword Dao War, so that the other sects were too busy to deal with the Heavenly Demon sect. Not only that, Fong Lingbai said again, this Heavenly Demon sect destroyed several aristocratic families in the state of Shi, the state of Lian, and the state of Meng, and even 2 cultivator sections. At the same time, they established sects in the 3 countries. Even the disciples of our Sky Patrol city couldn't find these 3 places. Which one is the real Heavenly Demon sect? A cunning rabbit has 3 burrows. Qing Fengmin is really smart. Jin King nodded. Immortal Shuiyu sneered. You're all wrong. From what I see, these 3 places are the real Heavenly Demon sect. Or maybe these 3 places aren't the real Heavenly Demon sect. If these 3 places are fake, I can understand. But if these 3 places were all real, then how powerful will this Heavenly Demon sect be? Jin Kung and Fong Lingbai looked at each other in shock. Lingbai, didn't you just say it? This Qing Fengmin is the founder of Heaven Forsaken, and Heaven Forsaken is mainly made up of rogue cultivators and low-level cultivators. How many low-level cultivators are there on the Dawn Rain continent? Think about it, this Heavenly Demon sect must be based on Heaven Forsaken. So how many disciples can it have? Immortal Shuiyu explained. However, the longevity of a sect doesn't only depend on its disciples, cultivation techniques, spirit stones, and other factors. It also depends on its high-level disciples. If it weren't for me, how could this Sky Patrol city still be called a Sky Patrol city? Even if I'm here, aren't they still bullied by other cultivator sects? If this Heavenly Demon sect doesn't have a nascent soul cultivator, I'm afraid it won't last long. I'm afraid it's just a flash in the pan. I'm afraid it'll only become the laughingstock of the Dawn Rain continent's cultivators. Immortal Shuiyu said, I'm afraid 3 times in a row, which showed his anticipation for this Heavenly Demon sect. He was looking forward to this sect, which was mainly made up of devil cultivators, being able to stand firmly in the 3 countries of cultivation. City Lord, let's not talk about this Heavenly Demon sect, whose background we don't know first. Fong Lingbai sighed. Now that our Sky Patrol city doesn't have the barrier of the Sword Tomb, we have to face the sword cultivators directly. The meeting hall is moving to the Lian country, so won't our Sky Patrol city be exposed to the sword cultivators' attacks? If the sword cultivator army besieges our Sky Patrol city, it'll be a troublesome matter. Haha, Lingbai, you worry too much. Immortal Shuiyu laughed. Our Sky Patrol city has been besieged by the sword cultivator army before, but every time, the sword cultivators returned in defeat. Every time, there were even swordsmen who died in our Sky Patrol city's formation. How would they dare to target our Sky Patrol city? Moreover, the Sky Patrol city is extremely cold, and it's not much different from the Hung country. Why would the sword cultivators want to target our Sky Patrol city? Why would they give up the Lian country's good territory and come looking for trouble with our Sky Patrol city? City Lord, you're right. However, we have to be on our guard. Jin Kung said respectfully, since our Sky Patrol city won't be participating in the upcoming sword battle, we can concentrate on management at this point. Immortal Shuiyu, who had calmed down, was suddenly startled. Then he stood up from the futon in surprise and rushed out of the main hall without listening to Jin King's words. City Lord. This is Jin Kung stopped and looked at Fong Lingbai. I'm afraid something happened in the Sky Patrol city again. Fong Lingbai said in a low voice. It can't be. Jin Kung shook his head. A group of nascent soul cultivators gathered in the Sky Patrol city. Which blind cultivator or swordsman would dare to cause trouble in the Sky Patrol city? Just as they were talking, they heard a hearty laugh outside the main hall. It was the depressed Immortal Shuiyu. Brother Dui, I haven't seen you for many years. I didn't expect you to reach the peak of the middle stage nascent soul realm in just a few decades. You're just one step away from the late stage nascent soul realm. I'm really envious. Chapter 2748. Immortal Dewey? When Fong Lingbai and Jin Kung heard this, their eyes lit up. They knew that Immortal Du, he was a good friend of Immortal Music sex Immortal Shuiyu before she was pregnant. Immortal Du, he was one of the reasons why Immortal Shuiyu could take over Sky Patrol City. In the early years, Fang Lingbai and Jin Keng had seen how Immortal Shuiyu treated Immortal Du, he with great hospitality. In the blink of an eye, 70 to 80 years had passed. They never thought that Immortal Du, he would come to Sky Patrol City during the sword battle. The two of them did not dare to neglect. They hurriedly tidied up their clothes and walked to the door of the hall. They stood respectfully to welcome Immortal Dui. Fang Lingbai and Jin Keng smiled when they saw a tall middle-aged man wearing a bamboo green robe walk into the hall in front of Daoist Master Shuiyu. They bowed and said, "Juniors greet Senior Dui." Not only was the middle-aged man tall, but his face and limbs were also bulky. There was even a beard on his slightly tanned face. The beard was so thick that it exposed his flesh and stood upright on his face, making him look extremely ferocious. Even though he was smiling at this moment, it still struck fear into the hearts of those around him. "You can all get up." Immortal Dewey shouted with a loud voice. "I haven't seen you for a few days, and you're already at the middle stage of Gold Core. It seems that you're pregnant." "We don't dare." Jin Keng and Fang Lingbai knew that Immortal Du, he was not as fierce as he looked. They smiled and said, "Compared to Senior, our progress is really insignificant." "Haha, where did this morning rain continent have a magus? You should go to the ancient times to find a great magus." Immortal Dewey laughed and walked into the hall. "Brother Dewey, please take a seat." Immortal Shuiyu respectfully asked Immortal Dewey to sit on his futon. "Forget it. I'm not destined to sit on that seat," Immortal Dewey said. He clapped his hands and took out a jade chair. He placed it in the hall and sat down. "Haha, Brother Dewey is still free and easy. I'm really envious," Immortal Shuiyu said intimately. His face was full of envy. He waved his hand and said, "Lingbai, get me a jade chair and a table." "Yes, I understand." Fang Lingbai knew that Daoist Master Shuiyu did not have such items in his storage pouch. He quickly walked forward and took out the items from his own storage pouch. "Jinking, don't be idle. Take a look and see if there are any precious spirit fruits in the residence." Perfected Shuiyu sat down with Perfected Du, and waved his hand to instruct Jin Keng. "Yes, subordinate will go and look for it." Jin Keng did not dare to neglect and hurriedly went. Shuiyu Sage smiled and said, "I've never been good at these things. Although there are many spiritual fruits in Sky Patrol City, I've never paid much attention to them. I'm sorry to have embarrassed myself in front of you." "Ha ha ha, you flatter me, you flatter me." Your heart is as calm as a mirror, and you're not affected by external things. Only then can you make further progress. I envy you too. Immortal Dewey laughed heartily. "Fellow Taoist, you must be joking." Shuiyu Perfected Being was still polite. "I'm not as calm as a mirror. I'm just worried about Sky Patrol City. How could I be in the mood to think about other things? How's the Sword Dao battle going?" Perfected Du, he could not help but ask when he heard Perfected Shui, or mention the Sky Patrol City. "Let's not talk about it." Perfected Shuiyu waved his hand and said, "These are all mundane affairs. If you mention it, you'll disturb the joy of our reunion. Come, this is the Winding Silk Wine of the Utopia faction. It was given to me by Perfected He Ping. Please have a taste." "Oh, Perfected He Ping came to Sky Patrol City personally? It seems the Sword Dao battle is coming to an end." Perfected Dewey raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "Alas, yes, hurry up and end it. If it doesn't end soon, Sky Patrol City can't take it anymore." Perfected Shuiyu poured wine for Perfected Dewey. They both raised their cups and took a sip. Perfected Dewey sighed and said, "It's really the Winding Silk Wine. It's as if hundreds of sorrows have welled up in my heart, and I can't fall asleep." As he spoke, he poured himself a cup and downed it in one gulp without Master Shuiyu's help. "Oh, why are you doing this?" Perfected Shuiyu was puzzled. He poured a cup of wine for himself and asked slowly, "I'm here today for something," Perfected Dewey said with a wry smile. "Oh, what do you need me to do? Please give me your orders, I will do my best." Shuiyu's lips curled up as he spoke in a very natural manner. "Haha, if you can do it, why should I be worried?" Perfected Dewey said with a smile. To think that it's something that even Daoist brother is worried about. I'm curious. Perfected Shuiyu poured wine for Perfected Dewey again. He glanced at Fong Lingbai and said with a smile. City Governor, I'll go and urge senior brother Jean. Fong Lingbai said immediately. Before Perfected Shuiyu could say anything, Perfected Dewey waved his hand and said, You don't have to leave. Maybe I'll ask you something. Oh. Yes, I know. Fong Lingbai was stunned and stopped in a hurry. Shuiyu, tell me about the situation of the Sword Dao battle. Perfected Dewey took a sip of wine and said, Which nascent soul cultivator from each sect came to Sky Patrol City? Yes, Perfected Shuiyu didn't know what Perfected Dewey wanted, but he didn't hide it. He told him about the battle and said, It's a bit strange this year. Other than the sects on duty at the conference hall, many other sect masters didn't come. There were even some early-stage nascent soul cultivators like me. Who are they? Perfected Dewey asked as if he really didn't know. Perfected Shuiyu thought for a moment and said, Most of the nascent soul cultivators from the country of Shi came. They are Sun Yunzi from Shanghua sect, Perfected Yi Xian and Fairy Jieqiong from Xuanyan sect, Perfected Lu Ming from Qiqiao sect, Perfected Red Arm and Fairy Yun from Huanhua sect, Perfected Miyu and Perfected Quangtian from Imperial Thunder sect, Hua Zhishan, Hua Yaishui and Hua Paikong from Ardent Fire Mountain, Perfected Zhuaming and Xian Yunzi from Blue Li sect, Perfected Qingyan, and Perfected Lao Yun from Mozong Mountain. TSK. Although Yingjue Fairy from Xuanyan sect and Qian Lazy from Imperial Thunder sect didn't come, they sent out 2 nascent soul cultivators at once. That's a total of 15 nascent soul cultivators from the country of Shi. What's more, I've never heard of Perfected Quangtian from the Imperial Thunder sect. It seems that the Imperial Thunder sect also sent out all their elites. That's right. Perfected Shuiyu smiled and said, Compared to the country of Shi, the country of Lian has fewer nascent soul cultivators. Who are they? Perfected He Ping from Utopia sect, Perfected Pin Xian from Xiantian sect, Xian Jing and Sha Kongzi from Kunlun sect, Perfected Dao Ming from Nanming sect and Mo Qingzi from Rocky Border sect. Oh, why are there so few? Perfected Dewey was slightly surprised. Not even half of the country of Shi? Actually, Perfected He Ping from Utopia sect didn't seem to want to come. Originally, he sent 2 nascent soul cultivators to come in his place. However, I heard that Sun Yunzi from Shanghua sect personally sent a message saying that Utopia sect had made great contributions this time. If Perfected He Ping didn't come, the Utopia sect would be inferior in the war. Perfected He Ping couldn't refuse, so he came. Perfected Shuiyu explained. What about Ming Kingdom? Perfected Yu Qing from Taiqing sect, Yun Mingzi and Perfected Jingru from Changbai sect, Jiang Mingzi from Immortal Ascension sect, Perfected Blue Feather from your sect, Bai Kongzi from Su Yan sect and Perfected Sweeping Dust from Chengyi sect. Perfected Shuiyu smiled and said, The 7 cultivators just now also didn't even have half of the country of Shi. Haha, I didn't expect Blue Feather to come too. Perfected Dewey smiled and said, I haven't seen him for many years. Perfected Shuiyu's heart skipped a beat and he smiled and said, Of course you're free and unfettered, accompanying your master to cultivate in the unworldly celestial mountain. Not to mention I'm envious. Even Perfected Blue Feather is eager to see you, right? Not at all, Perfected Dewey's eyes flashed with a trace of pride, but his face was indifferent. He even waved his hand and said, Although I can serve my master and receive his guidance from time to time, I don't have to worry about the continent of Shi clan. But after all, we've lost contact with the various sects and clans of the Dawn Rain continent. Even the necessary training has been greatly reduced. Tisk, Perfected Shuiyu smacked his lips and said enviously, Fellow Taoist, you should be content. Guarding a senior at the late stage of the spirit severing stage, who is also your master, this kind of opportunity is not something that anyone can have. Late stage of the spirit severing stage? Perfected Dewey smiled slightly. Oh, could it be that Senior Chan has made another breakthrough? Perfected Shuiyu was overjoyed again and said hurriedly. Could it be that Senior has another enlightenment in the war decades ago. Ha ha ha, Perfected Dewey laughed and didn't explain. He just pointed outside the hall and said, "The battle of the Imperial Demon Valley has been over for a long time. All the sects have recovered their vitality. Naturally, the teachers of my immortal music sect are no exception." Haha, I really have to congratulate Senior Chan. Perfected Shuiyu raised his cup and said, "As far as I know, this is the first senior who participated in the battle of the Imperial Demon Valley to have a breakthrough. In just a few decades, my Morning Rain continent has another Void Refinement Realm cultivator. Hee, it hasn't reached that point yet. Brother, don't make wild guesses. And don't talk nonsense," Perfected Dewey said with a smile. I know. Perfected Shuiyu said hurriedly. "I'm the City Lord of the Sky Patrol City. How can I not know such things? Besides, even if Senior Chan hasn't reached the Void Refinement Realm, since he has a breakthrough, he will have this step sooner or later. Senior Chan is definitely the only one in the Morning Rain continent who can make such progress in just a few decades." Hee, Perfected Dewey smiled and raised his cup to drink with Perfected Shuiyu. At this time, Jin Kung also returned and took out a lot of rare spiritual fruits for Perfected Dewey to taste. After eating for a while, Perfected Shuiyu smiled and said, "I wonder why fellow Taoists gave up your immortal-like life and came to my Sky Patrol City? If you need me, please tell me." Chapter 2749. This was the second time that Perfected Shuiyu mentioned this matter, so Perfected Dewey had to say it again. He put down his wine cup and smiled bitterly at Perfected Shuiyu. "This time, I'm here on my master's orders to do something. Of course, don't ask me what it is. Actually, even I'm confused about this." Perfected Shuiyu was stunned when he heard Perfected Dewey's bitter smile. As a cultivator in the late stage of the spirit severing stage, what couldn't he do on the Dawn Rain continent? Judging from Perfected Dewey's tone, this matter seemed to be very tricky. "What can I do?" Perfected Shuiyu asked again. However, Perfected Dewey did not answer directly. Instead, he said slowly, "Actually, I've been to Sky Patrol City a few years ago." "Oh. How come I don't know?" Perfected Shuiyu was even more stunned, but then he was even more confused about what Perfected Dewey wanted to do. "I didn't enter the city. I asked Li Qingxiu to go out and meet me," Perfected Dewey explained. Perfected Shuiyu nodded slightly. Although he did not frown, he was already muttering in his heart. According to Perfected Dewey, this matter must be related to the secret of Xianlu sect. Previously, Perfected Dewey did not come to Sky Patrol City to look for him, but Li Qingxiu had died, so he had to look for him. It seemed that this matter was very tricky. "What is it?" Perfected Shuiyu pondered. Why would a senior who is close to the Void Refinement Realm make such an arrangement? "Oh, I know." Fong Lingbai understood why Perfected Dewey asked him and Jin Kung to stay here. He looked at Perfected Shuiyu and hurriedly said respectfully, "During the battle, fellow Taoist Li Qingxiu went out of the city for a few days. He was not on duty in the meeting hall. He must have gone to visit you." Sky Patrol City naturally knew the whereabouts of the Golden Core cultivators on duty in the meeting hall, and would naturally record it. These were the secrets of Sky Patrol City. If it was someone else, Fong Lingbai could only shake his head, and Perfected Shuiyu would not admit it. However, Perfected Shuiyu was not worried about Perfected Dewey. "Yes, that's right." Perfected Dewey did not avoid it. He said with some thoughts, "I summoned Li Qingxiu. There are some things for him to do. But Li Qingxiu has already fallen. He didn't even participate in the final battle." Shuiyu Jinren began to understand. "Yeah." Perfected Dewey nodded. "I gave him a communication talisman. He also has the spirit talisman given to him by the sect leader. Logically speaking, he shouldn't have died so early. Therefore, I feel that his death is related to what I asked him to do." His Shuiyu Jinren was shocked again. He already knew what the conference hall's conclusion was about Li Qingxiu's death. But now that Dewey said it, he had a feeling that Dewey was right. How could Li Qingxiu, who was on duty in the conference hall, die so easily outside of a big battle? Since the culprit who killed Li Qingxiu was not afraid of a nascent soul cultivator's talisman, Then this person must be at least an early nascent soul cultivator. Shui Yuzhenren thought that there was another mysterious nascent soul cultivator near his Sky Patrol city, but he knew nothing about it. Shui Yuzhenren's scalp went numb. Lung Bi, tell Perfected Dewey everything about Li Qingxiu. Don't leave out anything. Shui Yuzhenren ordered without hesitation. Yes, I understand. Fong Lung Bi hurriedly took half a step forward. After thinking for a while, he told Shui Yuzhenren about Li Qingxiu. He even told Shui Yuzhenren about Li Qingxiu in the auction. Spirit Beast. Perfected Dewey frowned and looked at Shui Yuzhenren. Shui Yuzhenren was slightly embarrassed. He smiled and said, I know about this. That spirit beast was on the verge of death, and had no value. If someone had a secret technique, they might be able to benefit from it. I didn't know anything about it, so I didn't care about it. Later, I heard that Li Qingxiu made a big fuss about it, which surprised me. The one who fought against him must be another golden core cultivator in the conference hall. This matter involved two sects, so I didn't investigate further. What about the place where Li Qingxiu died? Where is it? Perfected Dewey thought for a while and asked. Fong Lung Bi looked at Shui Yuzhenren, and took out 2 jade slips. After writing something on one of them, he respectfully handed it to Perfected Dewey and said, This is fellow cultivator Li's record. Please forgive me for the rest. No problem. Perfected Dewey was overjoyed. He waved his hand, and the jade slip fell into his hand. Naturally, he wouldn't interfere with the internal affairs of Shui Yuzhenren, and look at the secrets of other sects. When Perfected Dewey scanned it with his divine sense, the entire hall was silent. Perfected Shui Yuzhenren looked at Perfected Dewey, who was getting more and more serious. He didn't know what was in his Shui Yuzhenren that was worthy of a late-stage spirit-severing cultivator's covetous eyes. After the Spirit Beast incident, did Xian Le sect send any Foundation establishment cultivators out of the city? Or did Li Qingxiu send any disciples out of the city? Perfected Dewey asked. This Fong Lung Bi was a little embarrassed. Our Shui Yuzhenren only records the names of cultivators who use the teleportation array. As for those who enter the city through the city gate, it only records the names of the disciples who enter the city, but not those who leave. Only disciples above the Golden Core realm have it. How many disciples from various sects entered the city through the city gate? Not many. Fong Lung Bi looked at Jin Kung, who hurriedly answered. See if there are any disciples from Xian Le sect. Perfected Dewey was a little impatient. Yes, I'll check right away. Jin Kung hurriedly walked out of the hall. Fellow cultivator, there are too many cultivators entering and exiting the Shui Yuzhenren. Some use the teleportation array, some use the city gate. Jin Kung and the others might not remember. Perfected Shui Yuzhenren smiled and raised his wine cup. Come, since our Shui Yuzhenren can help, there must be results. Fellow cultivator, let's drink. Okay, thank you. Perfected Dewey smiled and raised his cup, but there was still a trace of confusion in his eyes. Perfected Dewey was confused, but Perfected Shui Yuzhenren was even more confused. He really couldn't guess what Perfected Dewey was looking for. Not long after, Jin Kung returned. He held a storage pouch in one hand and a jade slip in the other. His face was full of joy as he reported. Good news, Senior. Sometime after the auction, there were indeed more than 10 Immortal Music sect disciples who used the transmission array and entered the city through the city gate. Well, let me see. Perfected Dewey raised his eyebrows and took the jade slip. After looking at it roughly, he raised his head and asked, These disciples, are they still here? I'm afraid they won't be here. Jin Kung smiled bitterly. These are all Foundation establishment disciples. Not to mention that some of them had already evacuated in the middle of the previous war. In the final battle of the Sword Tomb, most of the Foundation establishment disciples of Xian Le sect died, and there were only a few left. Jin Kung Perfected Shui Yuzhenren was unhappy and frowned. Quickly go and find those Xian Le sect disciples on this jade slip. Whether they are alive or dead, or return to Xian Le sect, you must give a clear answer. Yes, disciple knows. Jin Kung smiled bitterly. In fact, with Perfected Dewey's identity, as long as he sent a message, Perfected Blue Feather would definitely do this matter well. However, it seemed that Perfected Dewey had some misgivings and was unwilling to let the Xianlu sect disciples know about this matter. However, if he let the Sentry City do this, it seemed that he had crossed the line. However, Jin Kung did not dare to neglect and still walked quickly. Perfected Dewey and Perfected Shui Yuzhenren chatted for a while, but Jin Kung did not return. Perfected Shui Yuzhenren knew that there was some trouble inside, and there might not be any good results. Perfected Shui Yuzhenren thought for a moment and whispered, Taoist brother, I don't want to know too much about this matter. However, if you can point me in a direction, such as looking for someone, or looking for something, or if it's about something, I'll know which direction to help you from. This Perfected Dewey hesitated for a moment, thought for a moment and said, I'm looking for someone. Is it a cultivator in the war? Perfected Dewey shook his head slightly. Is it a swordsman? Perfected Shui Yuzhenren was stunned. Alas, I don't know either. Perfected Dewey sighed. Haha, as the saying goes, birds leave their sound and people leave their names. As long as it's a war, there will be traces. Perfected Shui Yuzhenren laughed. It's not necessarily a war. Perfected Dewey smiled bitterly. Oh, that's troublesome. Perfected Shui Yuzhenren shook his head. However, Perfected Shui Yuzhenren really wanted to help Perfected Dewey. After thinking for a while, he raised his head and said to Fong Lungbi, Lungbi, make a copy of all the jade slips about the war that my Sentry City has collected in the past 10 years and give them to Perfected Dewey. Yes, I understand. Fong Lungbi hurriedly turned around. This is not appropriate. Perfected Dewey hurriedly said. I'm disturbing your Sentry City for no reason. Not at all. These are all war situations. Even sword cultivators know about it. It's not a secret. Perfected Shui Yuzhenren laughed. Moreover, there are many sword cultivators of Huan country in it, which may be useful to you. Besides, what secrets does my Sky Patrol City have in front of you? Well, thank you very much. Perfected Dewey knew that it was impossible for him to search in the dark. Since there were some things for reference, why not? You're welcome. I'm very happy to be able to do something for you and Senior Chan. Perfected Shui Yuzhenren hurriedly said humbly. Well, if this is successful, I owe you a favor. If you need anything, especially if it's about cultivation or breakthrough, you can look for me. If I can't do it, there's still Master. Perfected Dewey pondered for a while and said in a low voice. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.